worries. All right, good morning. We made it, day 3, tips and tricks. This is sort of my fun little piece. I really like doing these tips and tricks. In restriction of time, I sort of have to pick up the top ones that I have. I do have many more, but I've really tried to kind of keep the ones that I find people do wrong the most, or things that can help you out the most. All right. Thanks a ton to Coworks and Grunder Uka. This has been really fun with the 3 webinars. I really appreciate your all support. Super cool. Obligatory contact slide. If you all want the decks, please connect with me on LinkedIn, follow me on Instagram, or don't follow me and write a message, do whatever it is that you need to do. Just give me a shout and I will send a deck, but I'm not going to post them publicly. So if you do want them, just let me know. All right, absolutely no problem. Yesterday we went the last 2 days, right? This is sort of where we're at. So knowing your pitch, I really want you to know it, okay? To do that, you got to know your story, you got to know your audience, you got to know your goal. And then this mix, matching, and practicing is exactly where I kind of need you to be in order to know, all right? Now on Monday I talked a lot about poker, and poker cards is actually a really good sort of analogy for you to think about how to mix, match, and practice. Start thinking about your slides as cards. Okay, they're not aces, kings, or anything like that. Actually, you could probably create some sort of analogy of certain slides being more important than others with cards. But in general, try to think about this one idea per slide. Like I said yesterday, I'll attack that again today. But start creating one idea per slide, per card. Put them on a Post-it note, put them up on a storyboard, do something, and then move them around and then practice your pitch. All right, and really, the only way to really get that going is to practice, I do a lot of coaching around this exact thing. So if that's interesting for you, either as a solopreneur or startup or business or whatever it is, just get in touch. No worries. Okay.
I recommend it. I've been doing a long coaching session with Sean, and I can really recommend it.
Thank you, Waleed.
You're welcome.
Going from startup weekend to being acquired, 18 months later? That's super cool. Okay. So I want to hit on this heart thing again yesterday. All right. You are your deck. Okay. You need to build this thing from your heart. All right. That's the defining difference between you and everybody else and what those pitches are going to be. Good morning, Dr. Solheim. You just popped in. I'll just let you get started there with the sound. Let me do this slide and the next one, if that's okay. I want you to build that deck from your heart, right? And then what I was saying yesterday, if we take that golden circle from Simon Sinek and put it on top, this is how I want you to overall feel about your pitch, okay? I don't care exactly how the whole thing was grown. I don't need to know exactly how every single stem was made, but I need to have an idea of how this thing became a heart-shaped tree, right? And what the essence of it is from the outside. This is exactly how you can start thinking about trying to get down into 5 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, or anything like that, okay? So try to think about me with a big heart, okay? When you're putting these pitches together, it is the defining difference. This is how you are gonna know your pitch instead of just becoming another startup that just pitches either 2 ways, in my opinion. 1, doesn't cover the basics, or 2, actually does cover the basics, but doesn't inspire a change and doesn't inspire a decision, okay? And the big quote, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. Good morning, Dr. Solheim. Are you here with us? I think her sound is maybe not. Can you hear me? Can you give me a thumbs up if you can hear me? Nope, okay, she's having fun. Can I hear somebody else? Is it working? Waleed? Yeah, okay, all right.
All good.
Okay. Here, hold on a second. All right, so people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. Okay. And the easiest, best way to start getting this done is to do your story first and your slides last. That deck that you've been working on for a year and changing around and all of this, I literally want you to either put that in some other folder called BS that you never look at again, or delete it, or do something. Okay. I want you to start fresh, but you've got to figure out your story. All right. And the only way to figure out your story literally is you have to workshop these things. Old school innovation, post-it notes, pens, paper, conversation with your team, yourself, everybody else, whatever, your family, get all of this stuff around so that you can figure out what kind of story you're trying to tell. If you figure this stuff out first, everything else is going to be so much easier. Okay. Storyboard them. All right. You can use a whiteboard. You can write, there's a developer journey right there. Okay, cool. Thank you, Thomas. Appreciate it, man. Start to storyboard these things. All right. But remember that once you just practice and you make one and you storyboard it, okay, that doesn't mean it's like, that doesn't mean, oh, perfect, you're done. Right. These things change all the time. Right. So practice it again, change it again. When something new happens inside the startup, you get acquired. Okay. Your story starts to change. Right? Maybe the startup story starts to change. That starts to turn into a big piece of validation, right? The more validation you start having later in your story of really like, hey, we got acquired, the less you need to tell me about all of the nitty gritty details about how you got there. Because the fact that you got acquired or that you got sold or you got invested in, that's sort of like a pretty epic piece of validation.
Actually,
right?
we changed our pitch 7 times, Sean, just to
7 times, exactly. And if you have your modular idea of thinking of different slides that you can move in and out, and less time, less slides, more time, maybe a few more ideas, who I'm talking to, now I can talk about this because that's more important and not this because that's less important, right? Then you're modular like that, right? And Waleed, I'm pretty sure, I know you, technically wise, I think you actually operate your decks like that, right? You can kind of interchange these different pieces coming in and out, which is exactly where I want you to be. Can you hear us, Dr. Solheim?
I can.
Okay,
can you hear me? Can you see me?
We can hear you. We can see you.
Fantastic. The phone definitely worked better than the PC. So thanks for your patience.
Okay. Yeah, no problem. No problem. We were all talking to you, but you didn't hear us, and we couldn't.
No, I could see that. It was so frustrating because I could see the mouths were moving, but nothing was coming in, and I was just sitting in this dark space trying to figure it out. Thank goodness for iPhones. I'm all yours. How's it going?
All right. Yeah, we're doing good. We're doing good. We've been, this is the 3rd day. We've had a lot of fun. I went through my story kind of on Monday. Don't think I bored everybody. Tuesday, yesterday, went through what's up on the slide now, which is sort of the structure of, or so my suggested structure of a pitch.
Right.
And kind of what I was just saying now and have been hammering for 3 days is this importance of a story, of really trying to tell a story, because that's what evokes.
Right.
The pitch and the story all needs to be covered. And I was at your book signing last week. So cool to see that happening. It was really, really nice to see you. I had taken that quote in a deck that I used for Gründerhub actually a few days before that.
Right.
I hadn't told you.
I loved it. It was great to see you there too last week. It's always great when you have support of your local colleagues. So I really appreciated that. And you picked actually one of my favorite quotes myself of that book, because it's probably one of the most misunderstood parts of being a leader, I think, is how well you need to know people.
Perfect. And you came in at a perfect time, because the next slide is.
Okay. Aha.
There we go. So I'll leave it to you. I just kind of wanted to leave it open and tell us what you think. Tell us about the book, but about team and knowing. I think this quote, like you're saying, is really powerful.
So I'm going to link it to pitching, if that's okay, because I think this is something that, although I've written about the leadership pin code, and what the quote that you've picked out really was important to me, because one of the things that, both being a leader myself and I've seen in working with leaders, we have the tendency to do is to get busy. We get really busy with doing the work. We get really busy doing the tasks. And we tend to relate to people by what they do for us or for the organization or in the team, by their role. I mean, I'll give you a really funny example. I was presenting to a client earlier this week. And as we were all setting up the computer, pretty much like we were doing today, a guy came running into the room. And I heard one of the employees turn around and say, "IT's arrived." And then I heard another voice go, "Hi, IT." And I looked at this guy and I said, "I guess you have a name too." And there's more to you than, thank God IT has arrived. But it's that part of, we can really get busy, and it's not intentional to be, difficult or mean, but we get so busy we forget that there is a lot more to the person than what they do. And the importance of that is the more we know each other, the better we know each other, the more trust we can build, because then we really understand somebody's intentions and motives and interests at a different level. We can also be more empathic, right? Because we can understand what might be driving their, joyous mood one day, and perhaps they're feeling very down the next. And what's going on for them personally. You know what they're challenged with, or what else is happening for them in their wider lives beyond the work. And the more we're able to relate to the person as a whole, the more we're able to build trust, and then have more positive influence because they feel valued and seen and heard. So where this meets pitching for me, and I thought I'd kind of link it to what you're doing, if you think that's okay, Sean, was that when we're translating a message for our audience, it can be very easy to get into our heads about what we want to share, and what we think from the title of the person sitting in front of us, or the name of the company, or the potential client we're pitching to. We get so caught up in that we don't pay attention to really understanding who they are, what they're interested in, what really matters to them, and learning them beyond the name of the company, or the title of the role, or the sell that we're trying to get. And what I really encourage people to do is do your research. And it's really, you and I, Sean, will say we don't believe in coincidences, right? Because we're Celestine prophecy addicts, so we'll say that. Right. But there's great synchronicity and timing in my view. And today I've just posted, before we came online, on LinkedIn, something exactly along this point about the importance of doing research in the people that you're meeting. And the purpose is that you can then hang your message, hang your pitch on what they're interested in, rather than on giving them everything you know and everything you think you should share with them. And that way you build a more trusting, meaningful, purposeful dialogue. So I kind of think it was good timing.
It's perfect timing, as it always is.
Perfect timing, as it always is, right.
And I love how you're dropping Celestine Prophecy, even though we've never talked about it. And that's hands down the biggest book that has totally switched around my brain. I read it about 7 years ago. So that's an awesome book.
Right. It's one I recommend to leaders regularly, even when they look at me slightly cross-eyed that it's not a book they would normally pick off the shelf. But it really, for me, is about teaching the importance of curiosity, open mind, seeking to understand people, seeking to understand other perspectives, and removing your own biases and filters when you're engaging with people.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Actually, I really like what you just said, because recently a Harvard Business Review study just undermined that the key performance drivers and the key innovative companies in the world, they found out that trust in the teams is the main driver. So it's actually scientifically proven.
It really is, and I've done a lot of that research myself into, is this just nice? Is it just nice because it creates a better atmosphere at work and we all want to, have a good day at work? But no, really, the research does prove that trust, and then there are lots of mechanics in how we build trust, right? Because it's not a single thing. But in getting those mechanics right and building good trust, performance is exponential. It's been shown by a lot of research of Fortune 100 companies who've invested in training leaders in the emotional intelligence required to build trust, that you can't just assume you have it, or you can demand it, or just create it, that it does. There is a science to it. In fact, it's a great point, Valid. I'm glad you raised that, because yesterday even I was presenting to the Chamber of Commerce in Stavanger, Næringsforening in good Norwegian, and the main theme that came up there on team performance was trust.
Yeah, I can totally undermine. I mean, had the same experience, even my startup. So we've been building a team, and trust was the key indicator, if not the most outstanding indicator, to really build this team and to get going, because we had so many team members, and the ones which we did not trust, or which did not trust us, they went out of the team from alone, or then we had people joining who you would trust, and that way it kind of, it's like a molecule forming itself into the way. So it's really
right.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry.
No, go.
No, I just agree with that. I think it's more important than we, I think, pay attention to in our daily work. And when you're talking about pitching and you're pitching your business, it's so important to try and create that trust even in the 10 minutes or 20 minutes or half an hour that you've got with the people in front of you, because in the end people buy, you've probably had this conversation at other times, if not in this workshop, that we buy from people we trust. So we really need to have that, and we need to create that. We need to understand the mechanics of how that works. And of course, since I'm allowed to pitch my book, Sean, I actually have a model in there, the 4 steps to how to create trust in super simple mechanics.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Based on research, Valid. So, yeah, I've kind of broken it down from psychological research.
Very cool. I think Walid will pick that one up. Zhao will probably finish reading it before the end of the session, I imagine.
I actually love this topic. I'm really into these topics. Actually, my startup is actually in this topic, and it's one of the most topics we cover. Finding talents and high performance is what we do in our startup.
That's what you're doing? Okay.
So we've built an algorithm, and we've been even patenting it. It's based on research from the people who did that were from the Israel military, 2 generals actually working in psychology, and we work with them together.
Connect on LinkedIn. Find each other. Yeah, I think this trust is it's so integral, and we'll also talk a lot about about people can sense and resonate that if you're being genuine or authentic, right? So if you actually know your team, and there actually is trust going on your team on many levels, that's also going to resonate out of you when you're pitching, right? So this is why I say, like, know your team, right? You have to know your team from know your team perspective, so that then when you do pitch them, you don't rattle them off like 12 different little Samsung features and just say, hey, yeah, these are the 12 things that they do. Great point. I work a lot with startups on those couple, the one sentence you say about what Bob does or what Jill does. It's really powerful sentences that can build some of that trust that you're talking about. Yeah.
Yes, and I find it very interesting that trust is like it's important, because I think it is also related to feeling safe in a team and with people. So I had a little question about difficult conversations, like when there's a conflict of view or perspective with, let's say, the leader and like someone that works for the team as well. So what would be your top tip to handle such situations in which there's like a power disbalance, but you still want to build that trust in an effective way?
Well, there's a very long answer to that, and there's a short answer to that. And I'm going to go with the short one, because in the interest of time and Sean's workshop today, and I'm racing off for a minute. But, when we're having a difficult conversation, the psychology of human nature is that we immediately, whether we're the reason for the difficult conversation or we're the one trying to solve the difficult conversation, our biases, our filters, our history, our defensiveness gets in our way. If you're not the cause of it, or you don't think you're the cause of it, then your assumptions will be getting in the way. I assume I've already concluded this is the issue, you're the problem, this is how I see it. I just need you to get there and agree with me and then apologize, right? Or if you're the one who's feeling, on the receiving end of the conflict, you're going to have a defensive reaction to being attacked or poked at, and you're going to be like, I don't know, I think this is about you. And you just need to figure your stuff out and kind of let me off the hook. But what's going on both sides of that dialogue is the assumptions and biases and defensiveness that's getting in the way of a true conversation. And so my single top tip is climb down from the assumption ladder, we call it, and get into curious mode. Treat it as though this was an alien from outer space who'd come in front of you with this bizarre notion of a conflict. And you just got to get really curious and figure out what this is about. And in adopting that mindset, you'll start to ask questions that look for data. So tell me more about, what's behind your feeling that way, or what you think I did, or if it's the other way around, what is it that you were trying to achieve? Tell me more about what your intention was and how that maybe got us to this point. Maybe your intention didn't result in the behavior or the questions or the responses that you want to. So get curious, be a research investigator. It will soften your language. It will soften your body language, and it will help you to be more receptive to maybe what you thought was the issue being something else.
Interestingly, I can say something to this, which is
quickly, Walid.
Huh?
Quickly.
Okay. The ego of yourself is the only thing which is blocking you from actually learning. Because if someone is stubborn, and I realized this by my own journey, the more stubborn I got, or the more I got picky in something, the less I learned. And the more I started to learn to kind of shut down my ego and to go into listen mode, the more I learned actually, and the more I let the possibility happen to gain more knowledge. Actually, it was a really, really
Right.
interesting journey.
It's such an interesting topic, and I'm more than happy, and I'm going to jump off the call and let you guys get on with your workshop, to follow up with anybody individually. Just reach out. I'm sure Sean will give you the contact details, and I burn for this stuff, so I can talk for a very long time about it with anybody who's willing to engage in a conversation with me. So I'm open to that. As you can see, we jumped on this call very recently, Sean, when you asked me if I would be happy to do it, and absolutely. So hope you enjoy the rest of your workshop, and you're in great hands. I'm super sorry I'm not able to enjoy the whole webinar myself, but I'll get to hear all about it, no doubt. But have a really great rest of the day, and hopefully we'll keep in touch.
Thanks for hopping on. Rock your day.
No problem. Thanks a lot. Take care, guys. Bye.
Bye-bye. Cool. There you go. Yeah, really connect on LinkedIn. Should super easy to get. I think you can get the book on Amazon, I'd imagine. I picked it up here locally. Here in Norway, you can pick it up at any of the ARC bookstores.
I just picked it up online, easy peasy.
There you go.
On the Apple Store.
On the Apple Store. Okay, easy peasy.
If I can just make one quick comment, is what I've been finding fascinating is when you start realizing that most people, if they had access to the same information, the same constraints, the same objectives, the same intentions, would actually be making the exact same decisions, then basically the reason why you don't understand how people might react is simply because you just don't understand enough of their reality. And I like the idea of treating them as aliens, but actually treating them as human beings you just don't understand is also a pretty solid starting point. So it just most likely you're just missing a piece to their puzzle so that all of it makes sense, because we tend to value and work in very comparable fashion. It's just you're missing a piece to the picture.
Yeah, I can relate to that. Perhaps another good book to read in tandem with this one is the one from Marshall Rosenberg, Nonviolent Communication. He wrote two books, one, The Language of Nonviolent Communication, Life of Language, and the other one is Speak Peace in a World of Conflict. Both books are really interesting and exactly addresses this point of like seeking the needs and feelings behind another person instead of treating them as like some like real alien, like something non-human. The Life of Language is more about the mechanism, and Speak Peace in a World of Conflict really addresses the relationships better in how the world is more like talking violently and how to do it differently. He gives like very mind-blowing examples, and I was really inspired by that. Maybe that helps.
You two are awesome. If someone wants to maybe pop that link or pop that title into the message, that'd be super cool for everyone.
I will.
I am not surprised that this type of subject starts to get a lot of feedback and lots of questions and comments from people. Julie and I talk about this all the time. Had a good conversation the other day about this. So this is really, really, really important stuff. We've got to be able to build that trust. Kareem, I see your question. What not to do to build trust with investors in a pitch situation? Let me continue on these tips here. And I think on some level, you're going to kind of figure out that a lot of these are the do's and do nots. But let's please come back to that question when we finish, or somewhere in the middle. All right. Deal. Hi, Björn Henrik. Really nice to see you, dude. Yeah, cool. Okay. Design tips. This is a little bit of overlap here at the beginning because I know I covered this at the end of yesterday, but it's so important. I want to make it very, very, very clear that this is exactly what I'm talking about. Okay. Make it readable. Make it simple. Make it obvious. This is hands down. This is what you need to think about when you're designing your slides. Okay. I've said before that I'd really like you to start with a blank deck. Okay. Complete blank deck. Start fresh. No standard templates. No standard templates. Do not whip out the PowerPoint template and start your presentation that way. I highly, highly advise against that. That's like saying, hey, I want to be like everybody else, so I'm going to be like everybody else. Okay. stay away from those templates. Now, I do put standard in there because there are some good templates out there on the net that you can use. But remember what I said yesterday, some of those templates, they might look really good, but they're not actually functional. And a lot of those templates will look good and are functional for your README version of your deck, something that you would send to investors, but are horrible for a pitch me deck. All right. But remember, I've also said use your brain. So I think you can tell the difference of which one to use and which one not to use. Okay. So big, clear fonts. Okay. Color contrast is key. You don't need to be a master designer in order to figure this out. You know how to figure it out? You either say, can I see that and read it, or can I not see it and not read it? Very, very simple. Okay. Towards down there at the bottom, I've kind of got this light gray against black. It's super small, tough to see. That blue or gray, or whatever you want, the dark gray, I guess you could call it, that color contrast isn't very good. Okay. Play around with these different things and just see what looks good. Okay. So no templates, make this stuff really obvious. Use big media. I can't emphasize this enough. Big media, big pictures, high resolution. They evoke a lot of emotion, these different pictures, okay? And it's just, it takes a little bit of time to go find some good pictures, all right? And I'm probably a little bit of a perfectionist. I like to go find exactly the type of picture that evokes this type of emotion, okay? But if you spend about 50% of the time that I do to go find these pictures, you're gonna be eons ahead of everybody else, okay? So try to find really, really big pictures. I said yesterday that one of the tips was start building a stock library of pictures that you can use. Start getting in the habit of paying for some pictures that are really, really good, that really, really get the idea across. You can reuse these and reuse these, okay? I am now going to fire into probably about 6 or 7 slides of please do not ever do these, okay? And it might be a little bit rough, but it's because I see people do this and it's totally hurting your ability to be able to pitch effectively, okay? They're super simple, but for some reason they need to be said, okay? The first one you probably all are going to laugh at because you have all probably done it and you're still doing it, but when I say it, then you're like, oh yeah, I know, okay? If my clicker could work here. No bullet points. Björn Henrik's looking at me. I think you had bullet points in your presentation a couple weeks ago, yeah. No bullet points. This stuff is nuts. Don't do a circle, don't do a star, don't do a little triangle, don't be fancy with a little bit of arrow. Okay, this stuff is just not good. It is not helping you. Okay, just remove the bullet point. Have the text, just remove the bullet point. It's going to put your design amazingness, you know, like by tenfold. Okay, remove the bullet points, get rid of them. Okay. And sometimes like, yeah, but I can use my logo as a little bullet point. I'm like, yeah, sure. But then you know what you're going to do is you're going to come up with 5 points, 10 points, put them up all on a slide. Now I've got 10 logos. Okay. This doesn't help you. All right. No video. No video. And no putting on a video that you spent a whole bunch of money on and you timed it at exactly 3 minutes because you wanted to do a pitch for 3 minutes. And then you sat there uncomfortably on stage, looked awkward while you're like looking at your own video. Okay. I've seen this done. Don't do it. All right. You are so much better. You have so much more ability to build that trust, to build that resonance, to build that belief, to get somebody to make a decision. You are far better than any video. I don't care how good that video is. Okay. Don't use video. Not to mention the thing will probably not work. All right. How many people have been in a presentation, somebody's fiddling around, oh, play the video, and then it was supposed to autoplay, and it was supposed to autoplay, and then they say, it was supposed to autoplay, right? And then they click, and then they went 2 slides forward because they clicked, and then they went backwards, and they've lost 20 seconds, and then they get flustered, and then they say, okay? Don't be that person. It's as simple as that, all right? This is a new slide. Recently, I've been seeing a lot of this. Now, I don't know if it's memes or mimes. Does somebody want to correct me? Is it actually memes, mimes? I forget. I don't really know.
It's pronounced memes.
Memes. Thank you. Cool. Yes, Abdul, of course. Memes. Okay. Now, memes can be cool. Okay. Memes can get an idea across. Memes can do it. Believe me. All right. But you cannot control how somebody is going to receive that meme. Perception is reality, right? Their perception is your reality. So you got to be very, very, very careful when you use these things.
Especially not if it's a 60-year-old investor you're sitting in front.
Right. And 60-year-old investor, you throw a meme up there that you're like, oh, so you see, it's a really good one, you know? And then the 60-year-old is like, the fuck is that? I don't even know who that human being is, let alone understand why it's funny. And what you're going to do there is one of two things, right? I've said this before. You are either going to get that person to feel really stupid, and now you've made your investor feel stupid, which you don't want to do, or the person is just going to shut down, not pay attention. Okay? Both of those things you really, really don't want. You want this simple, clear, readable, obvious. And look, my GIF didn't autoplay. Okay? No GIFs. No memes, no GIFs. Deal with it. How long do I need to keep this one up? Good, we got it? All right. No animations. Now, these are a couple I found this really, really fun when I was actually found an animation that I wanted to put onto the deck, and I got this crap. Okay, the image may not display on an iPhone or iPad. Well, okay, fine. I say okay, and then it says the image type is not supported on this device. All right, this is the type of thing that you just don't want to be doing. Okay, you want to be in complete control of anything that is on your slides, and the easiest way to do that is to just stop putting anything fancy in there. As simple as that. All right. Okay. No spreadsheets. No like 18-month, 24-month cash flow statement, that's broken down by every single department, and you just screenshot that stuff and you put it on the presentation. All right. Horrible. Okay. Now you can put a spreadsheet in your appendix, like I was saying yesterday. Cool. That's fine. But still, there's a way to kind of reduce down spreadsheets so it's not like the full-blown baby, right? Like bring it down to exactly what you're trying to get across. No complex graphs. Now, when I talk about knowing, you know what I mean by a complex graph, okay? It's as simple as that, all right? I will give you an example here, but you know what a complex graph is. Stay away from them, make them obvious, make them straightforward. I had fun putting this together. I'll just give you a second while I drink a little bit of water here. How many people have seen this done? Seen this
Way
done?
too often in a professional sense as well.
Yeah, this is no joke. Like, this is funny, but like, this is funny, like not funny. People have done this. People do this. I saw it 2 days ago. Somebody came in.
It's a pet peeve of mine.
Yeah, this is just not good. Okay, I'm going to try to improve this. Okay, I'm going to try to improve this. I'm going to make the font a little bit bigger and see what we can do. Maybe it'll make it a little bit easier. How many people have seen this? Yeah, now we're trying to do a little bit of design. We're trying to be a little bit fancy. We're trying to do this thing. Okay, cool. Now I'm happy with that. All right. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to really prove the point here, and I'm going to give you a graph. Can anyone tell me what that graph is or what I'm trying to get across? Yeah, Julian's face is perfect. Exactly. Okay. Look at that graph. There's no x-axis. There's no y-axis. There's actually 4 graphs. There's 2 categories of graphs. It's not pointing at anything. This is just a complete, like, what's going on. All right. But I sent it to my friend. My friend said, that's a great slide. That's wonderful. Right. Then I was like, all right, but yeah, I don't know. I'm going to change the font. It's a little bit weird. And I'm going to add another graph at the same time, just so we can really get this going. So now I've made the title slide bigger, font change, better. The other graph. Yeah, not too sure about that one. Correct. Yeah, I'm not too sure about that one either. But we've gotten 2 on here, right? But I'm pretty happy with this. Now I want to start matching it to my branding colors and things like that. So then we do something like this. I'm like, I don't know. Sean told me to kind of have color contrast, So let's have some more color contrast. And let's add a little GIF in there, okay? Let's add a picture on the back because it said big media. We've got some graphs. We've got all this stuff, and let's go add a GIF, okay? I really want to take a minute, okay, to have this sink in, because in my opinion, this is exactly the type of crap that I coach. It's crap. This is what people are trying to do. You're saying, how do I go get $500,000? And how do I go get 100,000 and this and this? And then I see like 12 slides like this. Okay. You really need to stay away from this stuff. Okay. It is so easy to fall into this trap, right? It's easy to fall into the trap. I have a slide here coming up of something that I did that I've fallen into this trap. Okay. So this is anybody can do this. It's very easy to do. If you stick to a few of the things that I'm going to try to get you to do, this stuff doesn't happen. Okay. Cool. All right. So no overloading is what that's called. Stay away from overloading your slides, right? Make that stuff readable, big and simple fonts, right? And nothing fancy. Very, very simple. Big part of the reason that we're doing this, and I'm sure there's some scientific term for this, and I'm really not sure what it is, but we've all figured it out, okay? Attention is singular. I can only pay attention on the slide, or I can only pay attention to you at the same time. I cannot do both at the same time. It is literally impossible. So if you know that, then stop confusing everybody, right? You want your slides to support you. You don't want the slides to be your pitch. This is why I'm saying big pictures, really super simple, nice and big, okay? As the second I put up all that text, the first thing everyone does is they go up, start reading, all right? If I'm sitting in a pitch competition and somebody puts a whole bunch of text or a graph or anything that isn't big and nice and easily digestible, I'm going to read it. I'm going to try to process it. And when I process it, I'm not listening to you. And if that takes me a while to process, now you're making me feel dumb. Okay. And this is what makes it very, very difficult for you. You're like, yeah, but I told them about my business model and I told them about my product. I'm like, yeah, you did, but you also put 7 pictures up at the same time. And so they actually didn't hear anything that you said. I mean, literally, this is the stuff that's happening. Okay.
It's also proven that when you read a text to an audience, the spoken text is much more easy to process in the human brain rather than reading, because your brain has to focus on reading, and therefore it shuts down all the other senses.
Correct. If you find the scientific term for me, Walid, I'd love to put it into the deck. I call it attention is singular. I'm sure there's something else. Yeah, cool. No, thank you. Okay. So yesterday I talked about 1 idea per slide. Explain it like I'm 5. All right. Now I did a little bit of research here just to figure out, I'm making sure I'm not throwing any sort of like really incorrect stuff here at you. All right. If you go look at Techstars, I think it's Techstars. Techstars recommends less than 8 words per slide. Less than 8. Y Combinator, home of Dropbox and Airbnb out of California, they say 14. The Founder Institute, okay, they're on 20. So I'm giving you the whole range. Yeah, and I sort of agree with Walid on that one. I think 20 is a little bit too high. I'm like in this probably 10, 12 word range, okay? I prefer 0. My style is 0, okay? And maybe 3 words with 3 things that are really trying to hit down inside that presentation, all right? But I'm serious, 0 to 20 words per slide. If you need more words than that, it's not 1 idea. Make a new slide. Remember, I'm okay with a 90 slide deck that takes for a 4-minute presentation. I'm okay with it. As long as you can flow with it and the ideas are going, no problem. 90 might be a little bit too high for 4, but you get my point, right? 0 to 20 words per slide. Please avoid your buzzwords, especially you mechanical, electrical engineers, blockchain enthusiasts. Nobody knows what you're talking about. And if you need to express what you're talking about, you're wasting time because most people don't care. Okay? I'm sorry, but this is the truth. These buzzwords that you're using, blockchain, I don't know. Somebody give me a buzzword that you don't like. Because you know what they are. What's a buzzword?
Artificial intelligence.
Artificial intelligence. Thank you very much. Yeah, and sprinkle a little bit of machine learning on top, right? Yeah, and we have a data scientist. You know, you have to be a little bit careful even there saying data scientist. Not even sure what a data scientist.
Ja, als je de task gedaan wil hebben.
Morning, Kamal. Nice of you to join us, man. Could you please, we're talking about buzzwords and I know you work in space. Could you give us an example of some space buzzwords that you know you should stay away from? I can't hear you, can't hear you. You're on mute, you're on mute.
Yeah, yeah. I think I mean at the moment downstream just seems to be quite an easy way out to just say, oh, there are other things that we can use. So downstream services are generally things that come after the satellite once it's on Earth. But yeah, I think that's one of the ones that we try and stay away from at the moment. But it's just like what you said, explain like I'm 5. You know, there's only so many ways we can tell people. Electrons transfer like this in through the lens, and talking about diffraction and weird kind of phenomena. You just keep it simple. This is how much you get out of it.
Downstream service, you're like, huh? What's downstream? No, it's the stuff that happens when the satellite comes back down to the ground. Oh, okay, yeah, cool, right? Like,
it confuses half the panel. Easy, yeah.
So really simple. Keep it simple, stupid. Explain it like I'm 5. Thank you for that input. Super good example. Really nice. Okay. Remember my obvious picture. Make it obvious. Make it straightforward. That picture evokes some sort of emotion. Probably pretty obvious. Okay. Again, I've said this a few different times. If things are confusing,
Okay.
Zhao, do you mind muting yourself, Zhao? If things are confusing, split them and add slides. If it's still confusing, remove them. I would rather you be more simple and give us a little bit of mysticism and, ooh, maybe they did that on purpose, okay? Rather than overwhelm somebody and make them feel stupid and make them shut down. You see this theme that's happening? See this theme that's happening? You're making people feel stupid with all this stuff that you think sounds so good.
I think it's one of your best pieces, Jean-Paul. That one is absolute gold. Like literally, the number of times we've effectively spent hours with clients to go through this process where in the end, we went, oh, you know what, let's just take it out. And everybody was happy. It's brilliant.
You know what also, what's also really interesting is that because it's your idea and you love your idea and your business and you want to keep everything there, it's again the ego which tells you, I need to put it there, I need to put it there, I need to put it there. If you don't know what you're doing, simply pitch it in front of 2 random people which you know in your network, which are not your mom, not your father, not your best friend. Right. Take someone neutral and get some really feedback which is not connected neither to your job, you know, someone totally who doesn't know about it. And then you get real, honest, neutral feedback. And this is gold nugget.
Cool. Nice. Thanks for that feedback, gents. Yeah, this is one of my newer slides. I didn't find a cool picture for it, but I thought it was maybe just nice and simple that way. Yeah, cool. Cool. Nice. Very good. All right. Transitions are your friend, right? I showed this one to you again yesterday. There's a reason why I want to overlap some of these because these are very key. If I throw all of this up, everyone's going to do what Julian's doing. We're looking at everything away, what's going on. I'm trying to process. Okay. If I say, hey, forget about driving. We're going to get people request a ride. You can grab an Uber from anywhere. You're going to pay with your phone, not your wallet. You don't even need to tip. And then you can leave a customer comment or feedback so that we can get trusted drivers, right? Bang, 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 bang. If you want to be a little bit more snazzy, I actually just took that image off of Google Images. I took 4 of them and then I cropped each one and put them into transitions. You don't have to be a design master in order to figure this stuff out. If you'll notice, the amount of distance between each little phone picture is not the same. Okay, whatever, all good. This is what matters. Bang, 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 bang. Okay, more is less, less is more. You interpret that whatever way you want, okay? But there's truth in both of these two. And if you can balance these two inside your pitch and inside your presentation, you are not going to be confusing everybody and you'll not be making everybody feel stupid, okay? So it's safer to be simple and curious versus too much and confuse.
John, may I add something?
You can.
initially our pitch had 14 slides, and we never made any, contacts with investors, or we didn't get into the attention. We reduced it to actually 8 slides, and it got more interesting, and we got even more feedback, and we won the pitch at 7 slides. Just to give you a feedback how important this less is more really is in the real world.
Beautiful, right? What are you trying to do? You're trying to get the meeting. You're trying to get that next conversation, right? Less is more. Absolutely. Thanks for that. All right. You do this with simple design, simple visuals, and simple data. Simple words. Just want to let that sink. This doesn't have to be rocket science. This doesn't have to be difficult. I've tried my best to keep my own rules here in play on my own presentation these last 3 days. Okay, that's what I've been trying to do. I'm trying to keep this as simple as possible. I'm not a designer, but I like a little bit of orange. I like the black background and give it a little bit of contrast. Okay, cool. I've got 3 ideas that I want to get across to you. What's the difference between this slide and what you need to do on your slides? Not much. You might need to have a slide or 2 about maybe what your product looks like, or maybe some sort of product journey or customer journey or something like that. Fine. And I have an example on that in a sec, but this is essentially what you need to do.
Sean, one thing here, Prashant here. So when you say simple design and simple visuals, so I mean, is it okay to just go with like plain white and black slides? For example, white background, black text, that's it? Or you need to add some colors or some design element there?
Okay, so I'm actually thinking about what presentation you're talking about. So it's okay to go black on white, but but the text has to be readable and big.
Yeah. Okay. No, that I understood. But I mean, for example, like for me, like this marketing slides are not ready, so I had to use the blank template, or I can add some colors there. But then it's like you need to find right balance. So like I was a bit thinking, okay, is it safer to go with the white background and just add whatever your pitch and the text is?
Yeah. So in my opinion, I mean, I think you can do better than a white background and black text.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, I get it. Yeah.
In a very general sense. Now, a black background, you have to play around with a little bit of contrast. But keep in mind, I like big pictures in almost all slides anyway. So I would rather you be dimming out big pictures and putting high contrast text on top of them anyway.
Okay.
Prashant, there's also a nice, you can Google it actually, it's called the psychology of colors. So I would strongly recommend you, when you do something with human beings, like I do, then I would rather recommend you to use like warm colors, like orange or like brownish. If you want to do like business, like really hard facts, like in financial, you could use something like blue or black because it tends to resonate more with the people that are sitting in front of. So there are some tweaks you can get. And if you do something with food, green is really good or stuff like that. So keep in mind that colors matter a lot.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks.
Well said. Well said. But you guys can see my style now, right? I come up with 3 or 4 really just big rules, and then I answer all questions from that space. Is it readable? Right? Is it simple? Is it obvious? If that comes across, then you can use whatever colors and whatever font and anything else that you need, right? But it needs to kind of achieve those 3 things.
Can I just one quick word on white backgrounds, because this is often something that I find really annoying. You have to remember that you are the pitch, right? You're the show. You're it. They're not going to buy from your PowerPoint. They're going to buy from you, right? That your PowerPoint is not building any trust. You might be. And the thing is, I'll go back to one of Sean's principles about, attention span 0 and brain overload. If you have very bright colors and a white background, that attracts a lot of the light. And that is where people's focus will be taken to. The focus should be on you, not on your slides. The slides are just there to support your story. And so, as I think you might be experiencing it right now, the slide, Sean Paul's slides are, dark background, simple words, and we're all focusing on the videos. At least I am, right? I'm looking at you. If you compare this to having, very bright white background slides, all of a sudden you're looking at the slides. You're just not looking at people. So just be very, the only reason why, by default, it's a white background is because a lot of people use PowerPoint to produce stuff you can print. That's the only reason.
No, well said. Well said. I mean, really, death by PowerPoint, is a thing. No, well said. I actually hadn't thought about it like that, but yeah, white is actually very distracting. Yeah. If you were going to go white, I mean, maybe it's even a light gray. I've seen some presentations that kind of get away with a light gray and blue. I think Waleed, I think yours is a little bit blue and maybe a little bit of a teal, kind of like a grayish white.
It's about data, and data is, you want to build trust and facts. So blue was the most obvious color for us. Blue and orange.
I would actually say, I'm going to put you on the spot here, Waleed. I don't know if you would want to share it to everyone, but when you look at a README version of a deck, a nice clean way to read and a good README version of a deck, Waleed is a superstar at being able to create slides like that. Okay. He's still lacking a little bit in using big pictures for that pitch, but I haven't seen that deck recently. But in terms of simple design, simple font, it's organized, it's got sentences, but it's very easy to digest. Waleed's a superstar at that. Yeah. Okay. That's my design. All right. We got it. That's a whole bunch of water. We got it? Okay, good. Presentation tips. My first one is always my favorite. You must practice with no slides. You must practice with no slides. If you have a session with me, I am going to make you pitch with no slides. You are going to fly in and you're going to say, I'm going to do the presentation and you want to upload it and this and that. And the second it takes you more than 7 seconds to put that thing up on my screen, I'm going to say, hey, cool, just pitch it to me. Let's put the clock on. Okay.
Very simple tip. Just put your iPhone in front of the mirror, watch yourself and keep the time range. Very simple tip.
Yeah. Yeah. It takes a lot of courage to even do that, Exactly. Stefan, was that a hand? Oh, you're saying yes. Okay. Yeah, cool. Okay. You got this. You've got to practice with your no slides. Like this is the key to knowing your pitch. You are going to screw it up over and over and over again. You are going to go to 15 minutes. You are going to forget what you're going to say. And all of these different kind of things will happen. Okay. But if you go through that with yourself and with your team, much better to do it there than up on stage. Okay. Because something will probably go wrong. You need to be prepared. And this is where you really start to let people know that you know what you're talking about. All right. Now, I know 2 types of people generally for these presentations, how people like to prepare. People like me who generally are not ever writing out a story or text or figuring out exactly what I want to say. Okay. I have an idea and I know what I'm trying to get across on each slide, but I do not set exactly what I need to say, because my brain, as soon as I start memorizing like that and I screw up a word, I've tried this before, then I get very flustered and I'm out of my flow. Okay. Now, there are other people who do write out the story, get it going, feel good with that. They change it, they move it around. Awesome. But where I think you're making a mistake is that you stop at practicing that so much that you don't need the text. You just get to a point where you rely on the text. And that's where you're memorizing. That's where it's going to trip you up if you do forget a word, because you will. Oh, I forgot a word. Oh, E. And then oh no, now I'm 4 seconds late. And oh no, I'm only on right at 4 minutes. So, right? This is what happens. Okay. So I don't have an issue with creating a story. I don't have an issue with you memorizing it. I don't have an issue with all those kinds of things. Okay. But think like a TED Talk. They know exactly, they've done the story. They know exactly what they're going to say. All right. But they can do that thing without the text. Figure out what type of human being you are, okay? But one or the other here is going to work. I'm not saying don't create your story. I'm just saying you need to be able to do them without slides and without text.
And actually, if you start to memorize it and you learn it like by word without looking at the text, etc., you can then start focusing on your mimics and gesture, which is a lot, because body language matters a lot actually. Because if you seem to be nervous, etc., the people who you are pitching to, they will relax. So on the silence, on the text, and then on your gestures, and then actually focus on the slides, because the slides are just in the background.
No, absolutely. Actually, that triggers, I'll tell a story. That triggers my memory a little bit. I was doing the corporate innovation program with Equinor and Techstars. And on the first morning of one of the sessions, I was asked to do an example of a 60-second pitch, okay, as a way to show them what a 60-second pitch sounds like and the things to put into place. And I sort of was like, oh no, you know, like I don't have this prepared. I don't know what I want to say. This needs to be perfect. I need to do this. Like there's no space for failure in this situation, right? So this was the night before, and then I was going to do this at 10 o'clock in the morning the next day. So I got into that thing where I started writing it down so that I could be perfect, and I wrote everything. And then I was like, okay, this is all right. Now we've got the structure and I've got it. But I kept practicing and I was like, oh my God, this doesn't sound good. I forget it. I don't remember, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I did come full circle, okay? But I only came full circle on this process because I literally probably practiced this 60-second thing like 150 times. I was outside with my headphones, like reading, talking. People were looking at me like I'm totally nuts. But it took me 150 times to be able to kind of be like, all right, now I know it. And then I realized I sounded like a robot. And I'm like, well, that's not right. And at some point in there, and we're all gonna, I don't know how to tell you to do this, but I had to kind of just pitch and come from that place where I knew what I was talking about, but I just let it come out and from the heart. And I used my memory and I was able to kind of get it out, okay? You need to just practice. But I learned from there that my way of operating is not this memorizing and learning, because it really, really, really stressed me out. And funny enough, I did forget like one or two very important points inside this 60-second pitch, okay? But I didn't go over the 60 seconds. All right, but you got to know your stuff. All right, practice. Entertain, impress, inform. I'm not sure who I stole that from. I think it's Y Combinator or Techstars, some site. All right, but I like that order. You got to entertain first, you're going to impress them, and then inform them. All right, if you remember from yesterday, my one that was first is that you got to know your shit first. Okay, in order to do all this stuff, you got to know. All right, you have to breathe. Like I just kind of said, I said, you know, take that breath. You need to be taking some breaths before you go up. Now, I gave you a balancing breath on the first day. That was to try to get you to 6 breaths per minute. So 5 in, 5 out, 5 in, 5 out. You can literally sit there in the stage or in your office, wherever it is that you are, and just do that for 5 minutes. It will balance you. If you're up, it's going to balance you. If you're down, it's going to bring you a little bit up, but it's going to balance you. It is not going to activate or deactivate you. Okay.
And if you look at professional speakers, the first thing they focus is having long breath, because if you have a short breath and you're nervous, it will affect your gestures and you know, because you start to stress yourself. So if you take a long breath, it's actually relaxing. And not even just that, the crowd will see that you're relaxed. And when you're relaxed, you sound more trustworthy.
Yeah. And when you feel more relaxed, they feel more relaxed, and there's a good energy inside the room, okay? And that will help calm you down. So breathe, all right? If you're feeling a little bit tired, okay, like I was this morning, and saying, hey, let's do a breathing technique, okay? It's like that was just as much for me as for you. Breathe. Okay, that can really get you activated and get you going so that you can wake up and go and do that pitch. Okay, you can do that before a meeting. You can do all sorts of different things. All right. Take a deep breath when you're in a pitch. Telling that story yesterday about the lady who was pitching, who sort of forgot some of her words, but she took a deep breath and continued. All right. Just continue. Take a deep breath and continue. When you have a slide that you want to get people to absorb, right? Put it up there, take some silence, take a breath. All right.
What really helps, just as a trick, is put a glass of water next to you, and when you get nervous, just say, sorry, I'm nervous, and take a because that way you tell the audience, and the audience really you know, has more how to say, empathy for you, which helps a lot actually.
Yeah, beautiful, which kind of gets me into my next slide a little bit, right? You've got to be you, all right? And I mean that, like whatever it is that makes you feel comfortable inside your skin, whether that be clothing, how you're talking, what kind of energy you're outputting, if you're being kind of high energetic, low, whatever it is, you've got to be you, okay? If being you in a way that you can calm yourself down a little bit is to say, hey, I mean, it's actually a pretty good one once you show vulnerability, right? And you say, hey, whoa, actually, you're stressing me out. Bjorn Henrik saw me do this at a high school about a month ago because I was stressed with this room of like 150 students. And I literally was just like so stressed about what am I going to say? What am I going to say? What am I going to say? And I finally listened to my own little lessons here that I'm trying to get you to do. And I was like, just be vulnerable. Just tell the crowd, whoa, wait a minute. Okay, you all are kind of making me a little bit stressed today. And that's sort of humbling, and that can break the ice a little bit. Okay. Ideally, I want you to come out strong and confident. You know exactly what you're doing. But if you do feel a little bit nervous or this, being vulnerable and expressing that is a tool that works and it's totally fine. People don't think you're weak. That's the thing. You're not weak. You're actually just expressing your feelings, and that's totally fine. That helps you. Okay.
Can I do a quick like small personal story about the difference between confidence and competence?
Rock on.
If that's okay. Yeah. So yesterday I did mention, be competent and not confident, and I learned that lesson the hard way. Where when I first started pitching and when I first started my company, I went in and I saw a bunch of videos and everyone talks about confidence. You have to always show that you're strong through confidence. And what I ended up doing was showing how cocky I was with my technology, and people weren't really responding too well. So instead, I focused on competence, as in, look, I know my shit, and I'm gonna prove it to you, and this is how I'm gonna show it. And that way, people build more trust, and therefore, it was easier for me to showcase that. And of course, I was being myself, and I wasn't trying to put on this persona of someone who's confident and more someone who's competent.
I thank you so much for that story, Abdul. That hammers right on a point. Kareem was asking the question earlier, what do you do not do to build trust with investors in a pitch situation? And my little short answer was, don't be cocky. Don't come across as you know everything, right? So confidence can have that thing, right? And it sort of rings true. I know I say this a lot in my presentations, that this comparison to Elon Musk, right? In my opinion, he's a horrible presenter. The guy is tripping all over his words. He would not be exuding confidence, in my opinion. Okay, but he's definitely exuding a competence in what he's talking about, and he's exuding this just, I know my shit. And maybe it's a little bit cocky, but I don't know. In my opinion, I don't think so. I think he's just very competent, straightforward, bang, 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 bang. Right. So yeah.
Even if you're overconfident, being humble again creates trust.
Yeah. And the thing I really like about highly technical, all you science and engineers and like Abdul, just like operating on a whole different levels that I couldn't even imagine myself. You have this ability inside your pitch, and I like to coach this a little bit, is that you're allowed to be like, okay, so this is what we do. Now, there's a whole bunch of words and things that we do, like bang, 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 all right? But it's really not necessary for you to understand all that stuff, or, hey, look, I've written 6 papers on this stuff and I understand it's really boring, but believe me, this stuff works. It's really cool. Like, you actually have this ability to just kind of express, hey, I know my stuff and I'm not going to bore you with it, but I know it. And that exudes this kind of nice confidence and competence. You can do that with your team. You can do that with projects you've done or something like that, right?
Which I actually did on my pitch for it, so if you remember.
Correct. I remember very clearly, right? And it works, right? You can throw up a whole bunch of like really confusing stuff up on a slide, right? And you know that they're confused by what's on the slide. You'd be like, hey, look, I know that that's a little bit confusing, but let me tell you what it's doing or why this is important, right? And then you just move on. And that's really, I really like kind of coaching, these highly technical kind of engineering situations, because I find it much easier to coach, because you just need to get rid of all this extra stuff that you think you need. All right. If you feel comfortable in a suit and you like wearing a suit, but you don't do it very often, but you want to wear a suit. Okay. You feel confident. Females, if you wear a dress, you don't wear it very often, but when you put it on, you feel strong, you feel nice, you feel confident, you feel competent, go for it. If you never wear a suit, but somebody told you that you thought that maybe you should wear a suit because everyone else is wearing a suit, Don't wear a suit. You're going to walk weird. You're going to feel weird. You're not going to come off as authentic. And for women, I mean, it is even more obvious that you're not feeling comfortable inside whatever it is that you're wearing if you're wearing something that you don't feel comfortable in. Okay, this exudes, and it's really not helping you out at all. All right, wear something that's comfortable. Wear something that's appropriate for you so you feel good. Shorts and flip-flops, etc. I'm not 100% sure if that's a good thing to be doing inside a pitch, but you know, if you're in some pitch competition in Hawaii, why not? Okay, so you see what I'm saying? I want you to feel comfortable when you're on stage. You need to be in control. All right. Julian said this one: slides support your story. They are not your pitch. Right? I've said this a whole bunch of different times, so in different places. Here's your slide. Slides support your story. They are not your pitch. Practice without your slides. All right? And you start to, when you realize this, when you play like this, then you're going to see why I have so much fun going out and trying to find the coolest picture I can find to get this point across. Right? These kinds of ideas. You can start being really fun with pictures. All right? Now, move naturally, okay? So you're not trying to be a statue. You're not trying to like land your feet straight down into the ground, okay? And you're also not running around trying to be a clown and moving, all right? Now, I say this knowing that I probably move my hands around a little bit, you know, maybe too much. And I also do it when I do workshops, but I sort of have the luxury that I'm not doing 5-minute pitches. I'm generally doing much longer workshops so I can get away with it, okay? But 5-minute workshops, 5-minute pitches, 3-minute pitches, you know, you want to be moving naturally. I don't know if I can kind of, you know, when you move naturally, what you can do is you can create three places on stage. So the one in the middle, one on the left, and one on the right. And you can just kind of talk from here. You can move a couple steps, move over here, say some words, move to the middle, say some more, move over. Okay, but you're not like saying one sentence and then another sentence and then another sentence and then another sentence like this. Okay, that would be clowning. All right, so you're just trying to move naturally so that there's not a lot of attention on your movement, but so that you don't stand like a statue. Okay, project your voice. Voice, like learn how to use your voice without screaming. Okay, go get a voice coach, go look at a YouTube video, do whatever it is that you need to do. Okay, you can talk from your gut. You need to voice and right and get this out. Okay, it doesn't have to be loud, it just needs to be projecting. Okay, confidence resonates when you speak like this. All right, I want you to speak much slower than I do. And I want you to speak clear. Less is more in this aspect. I speak very fast. I get it all the time. All right. I try to slow down. I had a great, I'm coaching a team with Innovation Doc right now. And I really hammered this guy. He talks really fast. He knows exactly what he's talking about. But I got him to slow down by about 10%. And it was just the whole world changed. Like I was able to be, wow, okay, I actually really now understand what you're trying to do and where it's coming from. With less information, but he spoke it clear and slow. All right. It's a tough one, feels a little bit weird. Try to practice it. A lot of us will slow down when we're stressed. A lot of us will speed up when we're stressed. So it's sort of an if and and but you got to feel this one out. All right. Here is one of my favorite slides that I always get the question, and I think I got it yesterday. One person presents. And that may not be you, CEO. Okay, that may not be you, original founder who's holding on to your ego, who says, I'm going to pitch because it's my company and that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to do this no matter what. It is not you. It could be you, but it may not be you. All right. One person presents. None of this 2 people having a role-playing conversation, a little bit of back and forth. You're going to screw it up. It's always screws up. Okay, one person in control. The only time that I like more people on a stage is when the team is invited up to do some questions and answers. But even in this case, that person who pitched is in charge of either answering the question or pointing at whoever is responsible for answering that question. Right? So you receive the question, the person who pitched, and then you say, hey, actually, I'm going to let my tech guru respond to that one. Right? And then you direct the question. Okay? One person pitches. Now, this does mean everybody needs to be able to pitch. Everybody on some level needs to be able to pitch this thing in their own way. So if you want to get really kind of advanced, I would suggest that actually every single founder or whoever's responsible for pitching actually has their own version of a deck. All right, but that's a whole nother advanced kind of tactic, right?
And also train the timing, because I had a pitch where 3 people were speaking and it was really, we were like 30 minutes just busy to synchronize. Like 50 minutes before the pitch or 30 minutes before the pitch, we got nervous simply because we didn't know who's speaking when. So make sure that when you and your founders are pitching together, make sure that you find a way to, when someone is being silent, that someone hops in and it's the right person saying the right words, because otherwise it will sound weird to the audience.
Yeah, which is sort of why I wouldn't even recommend doing it, period. Yeah, but because of that back and forth, right? We're not actors, unless you're doing an actor startup and this totally fit in with what the founders were doing, like minus this, I would really one person, all right? This next one is a new slide for me. And it's because I see it screw people up. You have to be ready for a mic to be in your hand. And you also need to be ready for a mic not to be in your hand, a headset. I've seen a lot of teams, it's really unfortunate. They practice, they've got it going, etc. And then it's one of their first times going up on stage. And then the host says, here is a mic. Yeah. And you haven't practiced having this thing inside your hand. And while the first time you're in pitch in front of these people, you've got this thing in your hand and you've been practicing and maybe you even have notes here, and then practice with a mic. If you need to go take take anything in your hand and start practicing. All right. Yeah, take a pen, do whatever it is that you need to do, okay? But this is kind of an important one. And be ready for no mic, right? I prefer no mic, right? I can project pretty strong. In that room with the students, that was 150, it was in a big auditorium, so I took a mic, it was a headset, but if it's a hand mic, I lose it. I really don't feel very comfortable with that, okay? So just be ready for a mic, practice with that. Tech check, tech check, tech check. Seriously, tech your check. Check your tech, check tech all the time. Show up early, figure out what the hell's going on, okay? Just do it. You have to do this stuff. Like, how many people have screwed this up? You all screwed this up. And the most classic one, right, is that they're like, okay, cool, yeah, the presentation works. I've got my backup. I've got all this stuff, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And there's a small little video in there, right? And then when the video played, the audio came out of the projector, not the audio system. Okay, I don't know. I've seen this happen quite a few different times. Yeah, and here's this great pitch, and then there's this a little bit of talking. Nobody can hear anything. Okay, you wouldn't have gotten in that situation if you hadn't put video in the first place. Okay, but you also got in that situation because you didn't tech check. All right, so tech your check. Check your tech. Have backups ready, please. Have a PDF copy. If you're using Keynote and you're an Apple user, have a PDF you can print by transitions. So I actually have a PDF copy of this deck. I don't know, it's 70 something slides, but that version is something like 160 because it prints a PDF of every single transition. So I can actually run off a PDF copy and it'll look exactly the same as you do right now. Okay. PDF copy on a USB, have that thing on a cloud. Have your own clicker that's got batteries in it. Have your own dongle. If you're an Apple user, I highly recommend that you do not buy this piece of shit, which costs 90 euro, okay? Because what Apple doesn't tell you is that this does not have the same power output as other dongles. Meaning that if you're trying to project to 2 or 3 different screens, like you're at a big screen, a big presentation or something like that, it will flicker. It will not work. And it also depends on the cables that people are using. This thing, remove it, do not buy it, okay? I had to spend 90 euro the other day because mine was flickering and I bought a different one that had a higher power output and everything was fine. It's not your computer, it's the dongle. It's a really big one, yeah, seriously, okay? And if you really want to be snazzy, walk around with your own HDMI cable, okay? But, that, who knows how many people want to do that, okay? Are we all okay for going over? I'm really sorry. I had a lot of things going on. Can I kind of stay at my normal speed instead of trying to smash everything in? Are we okay? All right. Make eye contact. All right. This grounds you. Now, you don't need to make eye contact with every single person, all right? But when you come and you stand on that stage, when you're in the middle, get somebody to get eye contact with kind of in the middle. On the left, some friendly face over here. On the right, some friendly face over there, all right? Can't find a friendly face, look at 3 foreheads, okay? You just need to kind of ground yourself a little bit. All right, so really good aspect. The more comfortable you get with this, the more you'll be able to move around into specific people's eyes and make everybody feel felt. Okay.
Eye contact actually gives you 2 things in psychology. The first thing is trust, because you sound more credible. And the second thing, it gives you authority. Imagine you're sitting in a job interview and saying how much salary you want, and you look around. But if you look into the person's eye and tell him, I want $100,000 a year, you have a statement on the table.
Correct. Yeah, and in the Talk Like TED book, there's a nice little description of some of the science that's actually behind what you're talking about right there. And that literally, if you can establish this little contact and this trust, then their audience's brains are firing in the same place that your brain is firing. So if you're believing what you're doing and you're having eye contact, it's like you're literally in their brain. All right, like our science is proving this. It's really cool. So this is super important. Okay, this isn't just like fluffy stuff that I'm sitting here and telling you because I think it would be good. This is based in science.
That's my favorite one, actually.
It is so powerful, everyone. Learn how to use silence. Stop talking.
Actually, I had this on Startup Weekend when Sean and me were when I was pitching, and the room was loud, and the best way to get a room quiet is to stand on stage and just be silent for 20 seconds, and you'll realize that within 5 seconds everybody will stare at you and be silent.
Yep.
Very powerful tool.
Yep. This is my 150% recommended way to start a pitch. You go up there, you stand, you get some eye contact, you look to your left, middle, right, and just stand there and be quiet and wait for everybody to be quiet. It's a very powerful tool. The only way that you may not be able to do that is if you're at Slush and there's like a huge 30-second countdown that's coming on and you got 2,000 people in front of you, okay, then maybe not. However, you still could if you wanted to take 5 seconds of your own time, right? So it's very powerful, this owning your silence, right?
Also, if you have a question or if you ask a question, don't put the answer after it immediately. Just wait for like 5 seconds because it makes people more curious.
Yeah.
So that's also very powerful storytelling tool, because putting silence there is like putting white space on a website. It looks much more interesting.
I'm gonna remember that comment. I'm gonna come back to that one here in a couple slides. Very cool. Yeah. Okay. Now this one is very un-Norwegian, and I highly recommend doing it. Please. If you have traction, lead with it. If you have something to show off, please tell me. If you have something that you've really accomplished big time recently, right? Tell me. Hi, I'm Walid. I'm founder of a startup. We began 18 months ago. We just got acquired 2 weeks ago. Boom. Let me tell you what we do. Okay? This type of traction is what I want you to lead with. Okay? Just be a quick little comment and then move on into your problem landscape or whatever it is order that you want to try to do. Don't be shy here. Remember, we're trying to entertain, we're trying to impress. So do that right at the beginning if you've got it. All right.
And if you have something like really impressive numbers, like 10 times more, 10 times faster, 10 times cheaper, put that in, because these are numbers, these are facts. This is something you can actually lead with, and it creates people's, it gets people's eyes and interest.
Yeah. They say people remember 1 to 4 things after a pitch. 4 if you're lucky. Like literally, that's what people are remembering. It might be a statistic, it might be a thing that you're doing, it might be some traction, but it's 1 to 4 things that people are going to walk away from. That's it. Okay, so keep that in mind. All right. Own the silence. Pictures are powerful. You want to grab people's attention in the beginning. Want to make them feel the pain. You could throw up this picture. You could throw up 2 or 3 statistics on it. You could just say the statistics. whatever it is, but look at how powerful pictures can be. Remember I was talking about setting the landscape? This is a setting the landscape type of slide. Okay.
A really powerful one.
Yeah. Make them feel the pain. Yeah. You know, this really extra time in trying to find a picture that is so powerful that it's worth putting up on a slide of your 3-4 minutes, and it's going to be up there for 8 seconds.
I actually remember there was a startup in Zurich, which was doing Airbnb for parking spaces.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem slide was them had even no words. It was just a street where the whole street was occupied with cars.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this is a very simply way to tell a story without having even said a word.
Exactly. Exactly. I think they were at Startup Weekend. Weren't they at that Zurich Startup Weekend? Yeah, exactly. I remember that picture.
Yes, exactly.
Try not to tell jokes, please. You know, the thing about jokes is, you know, they're not always funny. However, telling a funny story, I'm definitely down with. Telling a joke about your founder and how he walked with a donut across the street or some weird stuff like that, not cool. Telling me the story about how he did that, cool. Telling a joke about this donut and what he's doing, not cool. Okay? Tell a funny story. Funny is cool. Comedy's awesome, definitely. But jokes, try to stay away from a joke. You can be funny without a joke. Cool? Yeah. Okay? You getting my point here? Find some cool big pictures. Now this sort of dinks into a little bit of what Walid was talking about. I want you to always be in control of flow. People ask me, is it okay for me to ask a question? Is it okay for me to ask a rhetorical question? Is it all this stuff? My answer is always be in control of the flow. Okay? If you want to ask a question, fine, but don't expect an answer. Because now you're losing control and you're giving the control to the room. And then you're losing control. You are not in control at this point. Okay? So don't ask questions and expect a certain answer. Now,
but Sean, if you do it, be bold and have the answer ready to actually flash the audience. And then it's a powerful tool.
Then it's fine. There's an art to this a little bit, but it's the don't expect a certain answer because you're waiting for that answer. And then you're like, oh, I planned it. So somebody's going to say this, then I'm going to do this. Okay. Now there is a little bit of a startup hack hustle tool where you actually go and pay or get somebody in the crowd to say the certain thing when you ask the certain question, which I have maybe coached a little bit sometimes and it can work. Okay. But it only works when that person is out in the crowd. Okay. When you do it, people think it's actually quite funny. It's not a big deal. But again, I want you to be in control of the flow. Okay. This next one, I'm really not sure where this comes from. I think it comes from being a little bit nervous. All right. But I want you to be assertive, and I would really get you to stop doing these answer your own questions. So what's the problem today? Well, the problem today is, and what's the solution today? Well, the solution is, and what's the market? Well, the market is, okay. And now here, what are the features? Well, the features are, okay. I see this a lot. Stop answering your own questions and just tell me what the market is. Tell me what the product is. Tell me what the features are. You don't need to tell me what you're just about to tell me now. You got 4 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes. And I've seen people where I've literally sliced like 30 seconds of time literally on this one thing. Really, the more you practice, the less you're going to do it. Okay. How many people have you caught yourself doing this? Yeah. Yeah, it's a total natural thing to do. A lot of people do it, right? Because you have the heading and then you think that the slide is helping you and guiding you. Oh, okay, now I'm going to tell you about the problem. Well, the problem is, okay?
And it's actually called storytelling, not story asking.
Thank you. Not story. Can you write that in the chat, please? And I'm going to use that as a new slide. Can we do that?
Okay.
It's not story asking, it's storytelling. Oh, that's beautiful. I can give you credit for that one on the pitch, on the slides. Okay, do you guys get what I'm talking about here? You know what I'm talking about? You know what I'm talking about?
I find it kind of happens a lot when because it helps when you're sketching out your presentation where you're asking yourself those questions, but it's not the right way to then present that out. You know, there's that translation that you need to do between, okay, what is the content I want to put in? And yeah, how much does it cost? What does it do? But then when you tell the story, you want to make it a lot more descriptive.
Yep, cool. Thanks, man. Yeah. And there's also this assertive part, instead of asking, answering, there's also this thing where like, we're not hoping here. We don't hope anything is happening. We don't think that maybe it would be cool if this happens. None of this like wishy-washy language either. I want it to be assertive. This is what we're doing. This is our plan. You know, we think that what might happen is, and then when, if that happens, no, none of this crap. Just very assertive, very easy, simple, straightforward. All right. Do not repeat what's on your slides, unless it's a quote. The problem is not the problem. The problem is your attitude about the problem. This gets into what Walid was saying. If a quotes are powerful, right? Read them. Because if you put the quote up, somebody is going to go read it. And they're not going to pay attention to you. And it's not powerful. You know, like, and here's a quote. You know, or, and here's my customer feedback. You know, and I love the one where they're like, and here's my customer feedback. And it's got like 8 people of customer feedback on it. And you leave it up there for 2 seconds and then you go click, boom. Yep, that was great. You know, guys, stop doing that shit. Read what is up on the slide. If it's a quote, if it's a customer comment, if it's something, read it. If you really want me to read something and get it in, read it. Okay? The problem is not the problem. The problem is the attitude about the problem.
Don't put 8 there, just put the best one there.
Exactly. And if you want multiple, do it on multiple slides, right? This is that kind of idea. Move things around, stop overloading. All right. Be honest, don't hide your failure. Be honest, don't lie. You will get away with a lie inside your pitch competition. You will get away with a lie in most places, especially early on. You will get away with it, and it will bite you in the ass later. Okay? It will definitely bite you in the ass when you get that meeting and you start talking to the investor and everything like that. Okay? Don't do it. And actually, telling people what you failed at and you learned and you pivoted is exactly what the investors and the partners want to hear from you anyway. They want to know what you learned. They want to know what your process was. Okay? So don't hide failure. Just be honest. Right? If you failed 17 times, of course, you don't need to talk about all 17 times inside your pitch. Talk about the most important failure that you had and what you learned from it and what you're doing now. Right?
And investors will never trust people who are perfect and never make mistakes.
Exactly. Let them know you're fallible and human. You know, the only time it's a failure is if you do the same dumb shit again. Okay, so don't do that. Just let them know what you learned. All right. When we get to the end of the pitch, okay, be clear on your ask. All right, and I single-handedly think that all you are really doing on your ask is show how receiving speeds up your growth. That's it. Whether that's money, partners, advisory board, co-founder, money, cash, I don't care, okay? Receiving speeds up my growth. Receiving lets me go to market 6 months faster, okay? Receiving makes me start development now. Whatever it is, receiving allows me to do my online summit event so I can really get going now. How does receiving speed up my growth? All right. And there are neat graphs that really graphs that get investors' attention towards the end, is if you've got this like revenue graph or something or development graph, you're like, okay, so this is the picture today. And when we receive, yeah, this will speed up our process. And you literally take the graph and you make it shorter. Right? Really powerful visualization of how does receiving help? And how can I, as investor, help you go faster, right? This is what we're trying to look at, right? Practice these questions that you get, by the way. Most don't. Practice them, practice them, practice them. I have a small little growing list of things. So if you are interested in that, if you guys can't tell already, I'm sort of trying to figure out what people are interested in and what people aren't, because I'm trying to put together some packages here. Okay. Let me know if you'd like a list of questions. I've got a list of questions, so let me know. But practice these. There aren't that many.
Actually, it's quite important, because I remember one slide which you had, which was called "Own Your Ammo."
Take away your ammo.
Yes, take away their ammo, which is, if you know that your idea has some flaws or whatever, so be aware of it, know how to handle the questions, and even if there is critic, take it serious and tell the investors or the crowd, we are working on it. I'd be happy to chat with you afterwards if you have any input. That's a very good answer.
Correct. Yeah, I did take that slide out. I need to put that one back in. You're absolutely right. The idea, I have this idea of take away the ammo. Okay. So when you're pitching and you're practicing, people's questions that come to mind in their head while you're pitching, call it ammunition. And each one of those questions that's inside their head is something that they're trying to, not trying to trip you up on. It just is something that wasn't clear. So when you practice, in my opinion, if you have some people to practice with, instead of asking them for their feedback, just ask them for what questions came up. That's actually what you're trying to look for. And then you can change your pitch so that you can start to hammer down those questions so that you don't get the question in the first place. Okay? So take away the ammo. What we're kind of talking about right there, learn how to dodge questions like a pro. Okay? Like a politician. Not exactly like a politician, but I'll get to that in a second. But dodge questions like a pro. This is called bridging. Now, I'm not sure about a good book on bridging. I meant to go look one up. If someone knows one, if you could throw one in there, that'd be awesome. But the idea of bridging, and you see all politicians do this really well. They'll basically either answer the question very quickly or say, okay, before I get to that, let me tell you about this. All right. That's a bridging strategy. You need to learn how to bridge. All right. There's tons of information on this online. You can figure it out. All right. But 3 words that I would really like you to remove from your vocabulary when you're getting a question. I don't know. Remove those words. I do not know. Don't ever say, I don't know. Find some other way to express that you don't know other than saying, I don't know. Okay. Waleed, hey, we're working on that right now. I'd love to get back to you on that. Thank you. That's a great question. It's going to take us probably a minute and a half to get through that right now. I'd be happy to discuss it with you afterwards. Start bridging. Learn how to do this. Okay. Zhao, I got a book, but I have to look at it at home about bridging. Okay, cool. Maybe you could just post it as a comment, Zhao, on my Facebook. This is an idea. Now, I want you to dodge questions, but I'm really not a fan of big politicians that do this. Okay. So and you know me, I'm a little bit soft. So I would actually like you to think a little bit more about water and rippling. So I want you to be able to receive the question. I want you to be able to answer it very quickly if you can, but I want you to use that super cool advanced tactic where you're taking a question, you answer real quick, and you're like, hey, I just want to make sure, that sorry. Okay. Hey, that's a great question. I'd love to get back to you. We sold 5,000 products this year, and we're really excited about this. You're taking a question, answering it quickly, and then giving a big piece of information back. So like water, like come back and then shoot some love at them. This is advanced, but get really good at trying to use that time as effectively as possible. If you've got take that extra few seconds to say something that you're really trying to say. Does that make sense? I don't think I get a very good example in there, but it makes sense, Julian? No? Yeah? Okay. All right. When you can start to do that, then you've really learned that the pitch, half this pitch is also these question and answer sessions. Okay. I was also thinking maybe a picture of Bruce Lee could work here. Like, yeah, I could not find a transparent PNG of Bruce Lee, and then I'm a little bit of a perfectionist, so I went with the heart. But Bruce Lee, right? Like water, we're going to take that question, and we're going to wah, and then come right back and say something else. All right. Try to wave around like that.
I think the water analogy is a bit a step too far. I think it's just, working with the energy and, just, sending it back where it came from, right?
See, there's my trust your gut, trust your feeling. I literally spent an hour and a half trying to find a picture of Bruce Lee, and then I changed my thought because I couldn't find a picture of Bruce Lee that fitted really well. So I will change that to Bruce Lee. Thank you, John. Much better, right? You're taking the question, you flow, and then you come back, right? Yeah, exactly. Okay, deal. Fine, got it. Okay. That is Bergen. I went to Bergen. Yeah, beautiful, nice little place. It was probably taken on the one day out of 365 that it's not raining. I was in Bergen for Startup Extreme. You can see the logo down there in the bottom left. This was, I believe 3 years ago. And I was asked to be a jury member for a quick little pitch competition. These are quick 3-minute pitches. They were not in Voss, which is out in the mountains where the main festival takes place. By the way, if you want to meet the Norwegian ecosystem and everything, Startup Extreme is like the place to do it. It's a really, really cool extreme sports mixed with startups. Investors from all around the world actually come and check it out. Really, really cool spot. But before before everybody took the bus up to Voss and everyone traveled up and did all this thing, we all had this little pitch competition in a spot in downtown Bergen, this little restaurant area, and it was packed. There were tons of people, and I was a jury member. I think there were 4 of us jury members. Fast pitches. I think there were 3 minutes, maybe 2.5 max. Had slides. Everything was prepared. There were like 25 teams. I mean, this was just like really, really fast. Okay. And they're winning attention. And if they really win, they get some tickets for their startup to go up to Voss. So here we are. We go through like 15, 16, 17 pitches. Awesome, great, really great vibe inside the room. And then the next team was going to come up, and then next team is not there. Everybody's wondering where the next team is. What's going on? Are they late? Are they here? Everyone's kind of like, are they here? Right? So I decide to get up and I say, into this huge room, about 200 people, I was like, okay, cool. This is a perfect opportunity for somebody to prove that they can pitch. Who wants to pitch? Yeah. And I tell you what, that whole room full of entrepreneurs of 200 people went like this. Quiet. Everybody just went, I don't want to go. Nope. They're all happy to listen to everybody else pitch, right? But they're not going to take the opportunity. Everybody's just kind of like, it was amazing how quiet that room just went. Boom. Yeah. And it was quiet for a little bit. And then all of a sudden, there's this like rummaging around. There's a lot of people inside the restaurant, all of a sudden there's something moving in the back, and the guy goes, I'll pitch. And I'm like, okay, cool. This guy runs up, puts his backpack down. And he said, and he was, because he had just like run in or had just heard what I said, something like that. He hadn't been there. And he was like, how many minutes is it? And I said, 3 minutes. And I swear I saw this guy's brain just go like, okay, 3 minutes. We're going to talk about this, talk about this, talk about this, don't talk about this, talk about this. Okay, I'm ready. Yeah. No slides. Put the clock on, bang. And this guy nailed the pitch. Just absolutely went bang, 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 bang. Good energy, good vibe, knew exactly what to say. He slowed down a little bit when you could kind of see his brain being like, okay, I don't want to talk about that. I'll talk about this. So he knew his pitch, and he was able to puck around and figure out exactly what to say. Okay. And the whole room was so quiet when he pitched. Yeah. And as soon as he was done, everybody was like, whoa, bang. He just nailed everybody. Everybody else, all the other pitches, all of it, it wasn't even in comparison. Okay. The 4 of us judges after this competition was done, because this guy hadn't signed up or anything like that, right? We were like, that dude needs to win, right? And we literally let that dude won. We gave that dude, him, and I think it was his co-founder, tickets to Startup Extreme to go up to Voss. He joined, he came up to Voss. During Voss, he met some key investors, and I know that he nailed some heavy investment either right around that time or very, very soon after from those investors that he met there at Startup Extreme. Okay. He just nailed it, which gets me to my quote. The best entrepreneurs made me feel like the train was leaving the station, whether I got on board or not. And he just nailed it. This exact thing. Like us judges felt like, whoa, that guy did such a good job that we need to change the rules here a little bit in order to give this guy a prize. That's how much we wanted to support this guy to get kicking and going. Okay? That's the image. That's the feeling. That's the thing that you want to get across. Hop on board. I'm going. If you want to join me, awesome. You don't join me, not my problem. A lot of people are coming into a pitch of need. I need you. If you just gave me $1 million, then I'm going to be successful. I need you. It's not where you want to be. I'm operating, I'm running, I'm hustling, I'm going. All right. If you're interested who this guy is, his name is Erlend. CEO, co-founder of Verser. Yeah, it just
can't see. Can you drop it in the chat box, please?
Yeah, drop it. Really, just I've never actually. I'm sure he doesn't know that I talk about him like this, but one day I should connect with him. But he's, I mean, we're connected on LinkedIn, but he just absolutely nails it. He's such an inspiration, and he's still working with the company, and that he's been there for 4 years and 4 years and 8 months. I'm pretty sure that this pitch happened probably around a year in or something like that. Cool. That's me. That's us. Forgive me for taking more of your time. I'm trying to be pretty onerous of people's time, but I'm happy that you've stuck around. It's just so cool to see teams that get it. When you really get it and you can talk from your heart and you can really come from this place, the whole world is your oyster. Everything can come towards you, right? But if you start thinking too technical and too organized and not from your heart, it lumps you into everybody else. Everybody thinks that you need to be like, impress them with all of these statistics and all these different things. No, you just need to impress people, entertain people, and then inform them. You know your stuff. You know who you're talking to. You know who the story that you're telling, and you know what your goal is. You know what you're trying to get out of it, right? You're giving people the opportunity to come and join you. And you nail that, you can handle a 1 minute pitch. You can handle 2, 3, 5. You can handle your meeting for 20 minutes. And when you speak like this and you know all these different things and how to get across, you've got almost all of your content for your investor deck, your README version. Minus, yes, you need a little more of those financials, et cetera, et cetera. But like I said yesterday, most investors are going to tell you what they really, really want, because all investors are different. There are the basics, which you need to cover, but don't get too stressed out about these individual statistics or financials that you need. You know. Bye, Julian. You're awesome. Thanks, mate. Cool. Before I forget, because I forgot the last 2 days. Could we turn the video on and I can take a picture? They've been on me for a couple of days. Can we do that? I would love to do that and take a quick picture. Hold on. Hold on. Stop. Here. All right. If you want to turn your video on, now would be the awesome time to do it. Let's see. Hold on. Sorry, hold on. Open Apple, what is it? Open Apple 2? Yeah, okay, cool. All right. Are we ready? Margarita's on. Everyone else? Yeah, cool. Nice. Like to see the
ready. Cool. 1 second.
Okay.
I'm not. No, wait.
And we can all make our hair
I
look.
like my work.
Stefan's making his hair look good. Come on, man. There we go. All right.
Okay.
All right, awesome. I've really enjoyed having you all here. Let's have a big smile. 1, 2. Cool. Thanks a lot. Really super cool.
Thanks a lot, Sean, for the training.
You're very welcome. Thanks for, you were here all 3 days, I believe, right?
Not the first day.
Okay, perfect. honestly, the decks, I'll be happy to share them. Just pop me a note anywhere you can find me, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram.
Cool.
When you get the deck, there's a little, there's a Calendly link on there so that you can actually book yourself in for a session with me. I keep a 15-minute session every Monday to Thursdays open for a quick pitch. So if you actually have a pitch, I'll be happy to give some feedback. And then I have a connect in for 30 minutes. So if you want to connect, say hi, do whatever you'd like to do, come in for 30 minutes. Happy to give feedback, happy to talk about whatever you'd like to talk about. I do, lack of a better term, life coaching. I like just call it coaching, but I can coach in business. I can coach in sort of helping you maybe get motivated and get you moving. And also recently implementing a lot of breath work. So I've got a lot of places that I can kind of help out and have chats about.
Cool.
Yeah.
That in mind.
Please do. I'm happy to take some questions and things like that. We actually rocked on for almost 45 minutes yesterday on questions. So if anyone has questions, I'm happy to take them.
Yeah, I have one actually. So let's say that you are given 15 minutes on video, right? In these Corona times.
Yeah.
You actually only need 4 minutes. What to do?
So if you're given, well, it's just like my little quick pitch things that I give, right? Like use your time wisely. So if there's 15 minutes, I would make sure that you can pitch in 4 or 5 and then open it up to some questions by the other side, right? Just like in a pitch competition, you want to make sure that the judges ask you questions because it helps clarify things. So don't spend 15 minutes pitching, right? Try to get the idea across. But again, who are you talking to? Do you need to go through everything? Like what Dr. Solheim was talking about, do you really need to talk about everything? Maybe you can go find out what makes them tick, what industry they're in, and tweak the slide or the stories just a little bit where you can just let them know that you've done your research, right? They like to be seen. They like to be heard. It's just like when you throw a little comment in at a judge, like you've done some research on a judge, and then that they're in some certain company, and you're like, yeah, well, you're the director over at AT&T. I mean, I think this would be right up your alley, right? So saying some things like that to make people seen can be really powerful. Online, by the way, and I forgot to mention this, okay? You sort of need to look inside the camera in order for the other people to be seen. If I look at Stefan right now, I'm not looking at Stefan right now, right? Hey, Björn Henrik, but to you, I'm not looking at you, right? So you need to be really conscious of this one online, really conscious. So, and this, don't look at your slides shit. You're going to be a lot better at not looking at your slides if you're just in the habit of looking right here inside the camera and saying, hey, I see you and I'm talking, right? So pay attention to this one. And especially, I don't like my setup right now. I've got the big screen for the slide so I can see everybody. But then when I'm looking at you, I know that I look away, right? So it's not ideal. So you need to kind of be aware of how you look. I've moved a big, these are small things, but I've moved a big plant back here just to make it feel a little more homey, if there's some things like that you can do. Thomas is hanging out in a forest, that's actually pretty cool. So pay attention to the things that are behind you so that it's not distracting, but so that it's maybe not, like there, right behind you, Kareem, for example, the lights on the white are a little bit bright, right? And, so maybe you could do something else, maybe you could do it from a different place. I don't know. You just want to be able to be seen.
Yeah, cool. Thank you.
Yeah. But ultimately, I would treat it the same way. If anything, one thing that I've seen with online workshops and online pitching is that it actually forces you to be a little bit more tight, right? And when I do workshops, it's actually easier for me to keep people tight and nice and easy. All right, you got 5 minutes, go. Bang, 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 right? Just be conscious of that. Be conscious of that.
Cool. Thank you.
What are you trying to do? You're trying to get the next meeting, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So just focus on the speed dating, man. Yeah. Anyone else?
Online, you definitely lose a lot of communication tactics that you can have, when you're on stage, like just the body presence and like how you can move around and engage different people. It's so difficult, because you can even see people disengage on your Skype, and there's no way to kind of like redirect or get them back on track. It's just, okay, fine, I'm just going to have to keep presenting and hope that they catch the train again.
No,
I
absolutely.
would actually recommend that you, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go.
Yeah, I would actually just recommend that you stay a little bit behind so that you have a bit more ability to move. So you have like I'm saying right now, a bit further behind from my camera so that I have the ability to engage with you. And rather than sitting like this and talking to you, which is a bit uncomfortable. Hey, how's it going?
Hey.
Yeah, so here
Like a t-shirt.
But you know, another
yeah, go for it.
you know, you need to accept that you are not going to resonate with every single person that you're talking to. And you need to accept that you're not going to resonate with every single person inside that crowd. If you do pick up on somebody that is boom, knocking out or whatever, looking at their phone, move on. Try not to attach to that. Because if you start attaching to that, then your brain can say, oh, what's wrong with me? I'm not being, I'm not being engaging enough. I'm not entertaining. You know, I tell you what, one really humbling thing to do to try to figure this out a little bit is go do a workshop in like middle school or high school. The way that kids can make you feel like, I mean, you just told this like funny joke and you've said these different things and then the whole room is just like, what? You know, this is a really humbling way to kind of, you just have to keep moving on, you know? And for me, you know, as long as there's one or two people that I'm kind of like, all right, at least I'm resonating with you, right? Then I can keep going, right? If you got the whole room, I mean, that's why kids are so humbling because, you know, you can like this thing that I had done with at the school and this school, you know, I mean, they were engaged, they were listening, but I'm like, they're not saying much, you know, they're not laughing, you know, but like afterwards, they're like, hey, it was actually pretty good. You know, I got good feedback, but I'm like, yeah, but they didn't really say much. Right. So it's a humbling process. You need to kind of get used to, a wall.
That's probably the best thing. Yeah. Talking to the wall.
You know, and online, you know, I mean, usually I guess in investors or meetings and things like that, I would imagine most of the time people will have video on. But, you know, take something into account. I know my dad actually just finished a whole bunch of webinar series that was taking place in the Middle East. And, you know, culture reasons, everyone's at home, family, they don't want to have everything being seen in the background, et cetera, et cetera. There's a whole bunch of different reasons. Nobody had their video on, right? And when nobody has video on, that can make you as a presenter be very self-conscious about what's going on, right? And that's why I'm like, hey, can I please have some, you know, hi, I'd really like to see you, you know? There's a reason for that, you know? So, you know, these are just it's weird, these little interesting things that you have to adjust to in an online world. You know, trying to ask and get on video and, you know, getting connected, you know, even just looking inside that camera, you know, you get eye contact with everyone, then show everybody that you're here. You know, there's ways that you can mimic these things in the digital world.
Usually I say, like, can we try not to be ghosts? I mean, we are actually in the middle of COVID. It's really nice to meet people and see people.
No, exactly. And I actually found it's really, this was actually, it wasn't generally a culture thing that was actually happening to my dad, because my dad had asked a few questions to figure out what was going on. And everyone's under lockdown, big families, right? And people are doing this at home. There's a lot of stuff, you know, there's family in the background, there's kids running around, there's all these kinds of different things. So it really wasn't that they didn't want to or anything like that. It was just like, it's actually a bit of a chaos situation around here, right? And just trying to respect everybody's space and presence.
One question, Sean. That might be out of place though, but do you have some good ideas to find investors? I have a long list, of course. I've been looking at lots and I've been hunting a lot for investors, so I already have a long list. But I'm going to go on a long fundraising round now, so it would be interesting if you have some new ideas or good ideas to try to find lists.
I'm not sure I have a particularly new idea, but I do have the thing that I'm always suggesting to people, especially for early stage. One, treat your hunt for investors as if your treat for customers, okay? If you're trying to create a product that's good for customers, so in order for you to do that, you need to understand what makes your customers tick, yeah? This is what Dr. Solheim was talking about, do your research, right? So first, try to identify who the investors are that you actually want. Okay, not every investor is created equal, and not every dollar or kroner that you get from every investor is equal. Some of them will come with active participation. Some of them will come with no active. Some of them will come with a lot of guidelines, et cetera, et cetera. The only way to really start to figure this out is to do the same thing that you would do with customers. Talk to investors, connect to them, get their attention, pitch at them for 2 or 3 minutes. If you need to go hack and hustle to go down to some conference and corner that person inside the bathroom, go do it. If you find out that they, friend of mine did this in Finland, found out that some investors hop in a freezing pool of water in a certain situation at 6 o'clock in the morning, knew that that was the investor he wanted to talk to, go hop in the freezing cool pool of water and go show them that you want to talk to them for a couple of minutes. Okay. Find where they are and go talk to them. 1, 2, when you do this, all you're really trying to do is establish some contact so that you can continue updating those investors as you go along. That's the biggest one. So I've seen quite a few startups that have employed this really neat kind of, they create a investor newsletter. So basically when they go meet an investor, they write them an email or et cetera, say, hey, look, you know, we understand you're busy, right? The biggest thing to do is actually to say, I understand you're busy. I understand you probably don't have time for this shit. Okay. But I would really like to know, 1, can we meet? Give them options. 2, can I please add you to my list so I can keep you updated on what our startup is? 99% of the time that investor is going to say, hey, yeah, put me on the list. Sure. Right. And then as you update every 3 or 4 weeks, something more traction, more traction, more traction, then you're creating this kind of customer loyalty or this information about you. And believe me, they're reading them. So the more traction they see over a longer period of time, you're reducing risk in their eyes. The less risky you are, the more likely that they're going to come and talk to you. So I would say somewhere in there, treat them like a customer, treat them like they're human beings, by the way. Do not treat them that they're like some superheroes. They are not superheroes. And don't treat them like you know what they want. Most investors I talk to bitch about the fact that startups have no idea how to talk to them because they think that you're supposed to fill out a 17-page slide full of financials. I know a lot of investors that are like, I don't believe one number of any early stage startup that is giving me any sort of numbers. They can give me an indication, maybe, but they don't really take any of those numbers per se. What they will pay attention to is, are you keeping them updated? Are you having traction? Are you getting stuff done? When they gave you a suggestion, did you implement it? Right? Those are the big things. It's big, but it's actually small. It's like these small things that we don't do. We try to be too skoleflink, ikke sant? Vi må ha dette her. Det må vi ha. Okay, let's build that together. Let's hold on to it until it's perfect. And then when we're ready, we're going to send it to everybody. Yeah, it doesn't work that way. Look outside Norway. Use LinkedIn. I mean, ask for more money. That's a big one. In my opinion, most people in Norway aren't asking for enough money.
And you always get more than you think.
Yeah, you're asking for peanuts. I've started to mentor for a Founder Institute in Zurich, and these are startups that are just after startup weekend, kind of. So they're kind of getting going. They're early stage. They've got a 14-week program to kind of figure out what's going on. Yeah. And at the end of the program, everybody's asking. I mean, the lowest one that I saw somebody ask for was 2.5 million kroner. Upwards of 1 million francs. I mean, these are big numbers that these teams are asking for. And I asked the directors of the program, I was like, are some of these teams getting this money? And they're like, yeah, they might be getting it. They're not getting boom say 10 million kroner or 5 million kroner in one go, but they've done the deal. They've said, okay, here's 1.5, here's another 1.5. They've done milestones. So be conscious of the fact that if you don't price yourself up high, if you don't ask for big money, you might be just considered as a joke. But make it digestible, right? Don't be this need. Oh, if you just gave me 10 million kroner, oh my God, all these cool things that I could do. No, I'm looking for 10 million to achieve the growth that I'm looking for, that I expect. 500,000 right now would allow me to do bang, 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 bang.
And be aware of your validation, because if it's a faked one or just because you think you are worth it, investors will not buy it. So do the due diligence, take a financial expert or a startup expert who has a clue about financial numbers, let them review the slides, and then make sure that it resonates with what the investors or what the general public says, because that's a really, really important one.
Yeah.
What's the scope and depth of the due deal, you would say, Walid?
Sorry, what did you say?
Yeah, what's the scope and what are the dimensions that they evaluate you on in the due deal, and what's the depth of it?
Well, I mean, for example, I'll give you an example. We are a data startup, and I founded my startup, and in the beginning, we made the mistake that our valuation was way too high, although we had nothing. We had not a product, we had no customers, we had nothing, just some screenshots, which we thought this is what we want to do. We haven't done anything, and we said we are worth 2 million. And if you pitch this to investors, they will say, "Show me what you've done." So what I want to tell you is, if you sell one T-shirt, your valuation is one T-shirt. You know what I mean? So this is something which has to be in reality. So if you did $100,000 with sales, your startup is worth 100,000. You're not worth 1 million or 2 million. You're worth what you have done and what's in your numbers. So to keep it real, because this is where investors are kind of really picky at. And of course, there are high potentials, like when you go, especially into the artificial intelligence startups or financial startups, where there's a lot of volume, a lot of potential, but potential is not the reality. And this is something that startup founders tend always to overdo it in terms of numbers. So just be more humble, and you will see that step by step, when the more you get done, the more you get worse. So this is something which is really important.
Thanks.
I'm going to interject on that one a little bit. Yeah, I mean, Walid's on point there. But I would still add one, if I knew that you got one shirt sold, it's worth more than one T-shirt. Okay, because you've gone from 0 to 1 and you've started to move. So the earlier you are in a process, if you actually get stuff moving, that's worth quite a bit. And the only reason I want to kind of interject here is because I don't want people to kind of feel like you have to build up a whole bunch in order to be, that somebody wants a piece of you or wants to work with you or invest. Okay. Most startups aren't thinking simple enough, in my opinion. They're looking too big and looking not too big. They're just looking big, and they think they need to go from small to big. And in order to get investment, they need to go big, right? Where really, in actuality, and I think Keval can talk a little bit about this, right? These small little pieces of validation, of small little projects, of little things that are validating your company and your startup, that's exactly the type of stuff that gets the cash moved over, right? Like, just prove a little bit. Like, that's the thing. Most entrepreneurs, and I'm sorry, especially in Norway, you're not proving anything. You're not going and selling. You're not going and telling me that you spoke to 300 customers and you got all this feedback. You're not telling me that. You're telling me all these market numbers and all this big money that you've gotten from Innovation Norway in order to then go do it. But you're not building a small little prototype out of cardboard. You're not going and having an event and seeing and getting some feedback. You're not delivering on your bike, like these real entrepreneurial things that are just proving the actual stuff that we really want people to do, because that's what the investors actually, for the most part, especially at this stage, that's what they're looking for. I have seen people get away with very little, but they got this right. They got this piece right. Go ahead.
I wanted to add on, if I could, Sean, because we had an issue exactly on this. How do you value your company when we haven't got any revenue? We're not making any sales. It's an R&D business, and exactly like you said, all we're doing is building up those blocks. So what we kind of looked at was the slicing the pie model, and there what we started to do was understand what are the key tasks that needs to happen in the business, who does it, and how many hours were taken to do that. And basically, by kind of listing all of those and keeping a record of that, we can essentially show to anyone, all right, we understand that our business today isn't selling anything. We're not revenue generating. But if anyone was to start their business tomorrow and try to get to where we are, they would essentially spend this much time, this much resource to get to our knowledge base. And so actually our valuation of our business is this many hours, which is done by these people who are valued at these hours, at this hourly rate, because of this is what their background is. And then that helps also just account for the silent work that happens in the background. You know, even going and talking to a big institute and finding no is still of value, and that's what we want to also keep recorded as part of the business.
Yeah, really cool, right? You gotta try to base it on something, right? You know, and that's a good way to do that, right? I would also, and you know, you start to know my style here a little bit. No matter what valuation you're going to come up with, it's wrong.
Yeah.
So also recognize this, right? So, you know, there is something to also be said, like give yourself some sort of basis so that it's like, okay, it's around this millions, but not this millions, you know, give yourself some sort of basis like that. But, you know, in my opinion, it's going to be wrong. And the investors also know that it's wrong. And the ones that are really interested in you and start to want to work with you because you've shown that you're the type of team that can get the shit done will work with you on trying to figure out some sort of good valuation. Now, of course, that's why it's good to listen to Waleed there and make sure that you've got somebody on your side that can sort of, you know, are they trying to screw you on the valuation, right? Are you way undervalued or way, you know, you need somebody sort of in your backyard to kind of help you figure out, are you trying to get screwed or not? Because the investors will try to undervalue you.
And especially when you work in complex fields like IT or, you know, production or all these engineering topics where you need a lot of research, do your research. It's really, we've been pitching in front of a customer, and you know what happened to us? And it was really embarrassing because our potential customer told us about a competitor which we didn't know about. It was really embarrassing. To do your research, because this is gonna punch your face. And especially when you do research, don't think that just because you do a 15 minutes research, do it 3 times and then you know what you have to search for, because that was a big move. And the other thing which I would like to hook on what Keval said is actually when you want to sell yourself, we had a time range of 6 months where you can say where you can lie. So you can lie up to 6 months in the future, but I would not go further because investors will realize. And you know, you can fake some numbers, okay, but you have to make sure that somehow you can keep the range, because if you're way off, it's gonna sound not credible. And if you're too cheap, you will actually sell yourself too cheap.
Know your shit. You know, it's
I need to add something here. I mean, I would always shoot for the moon, and if you miss, you end up in the stars. You know, like go high, and yes, on the price is something that a person pays for you, and so you can ask 100 people, and they say it's too expensive, and you find 101 person, and he's paying or she's paying. So what I always do is like grab your phone and talk to people and ask them. And my girlfriend, she came to me a couple of weeks ago, and she asked me, how much should I ask for the salary for a new job? And I said, go high, go for the highest thing you can go. And she got it for this amount of money, like she got the offer. Right. So the point is, your expectation may be totally wrong because you're like in the situation where you think like my friends told me, but you don't know, you only have to find one person. This is how you sell art, for example. That's why if you want to make big money for a charity, for example, what I do is I try to sell art. So there's always a person who is paying a huge amount of money for this picture. Honestly, like I can't say how much the picture is because there's no price for art. You know, it's what you think it's the right price. And consider your startup as art. It's more than, there's not a sign on it. It's what you feel. And basically that's why there's no right price. So that's what Sean Paul said.
Yeah, well said, Marcel. Thanks for chiming in on that. Yeah, you know, if you need to default to something, just make it big. You know, if anything, you're going to impress the people saying, oh, wow, they're actually thinking big. They want to go big, you know, so you're as valuable as people are willing to pay, you know, and we're very good at undervaluing ourselves, right? Pricing is a crazy one, right? It's much easier to bring that price down than it is to start bringing it up, right? So go high. Yeah. Go high and give a discount, you know?
And this is also the reference you said, like, if I go in a negotiation for salary and I say I want to have 5,000 euros, this is a benchmark. And I can say, okay, this is maybe the amount of money I'm earning right now. So if you want to have me as an employer, give me more than 5,000. So give me 10% on top. So 5,500. Even though if I'm earning right now only 4,000 euros, I go in with a high stake So they may go this down because of the situation right now to 4,900, but I'm still 900 euros higher than my original salary in 4,000. So if you have this reference point, this is going to make a mark. And of course, Walid, you're right with at the end, what proves over time is what you have done so far. So the point is, so if you don't find someone who supports you, you don't go and call and call and call. And what we did with, sorry, I just joined this today because I was busy the last days. What we do is we have a charity and we fly stationaries and donations from Berlin to Beirut because there was the huge explosion. And you're flying stationaries from Germany to Lebanon, it's super expensive, but we found a company who delivers this for free for us. So we don't pay anything, but we looked and we had 500 phone calls within 10 days. And then we found this little airline from Northern Germany that flies this for free for us. So basically this is like the logistic, but it took us 500 calls. So the point is go and go and go and go. And we had offers from Turkish Airlines. They had a huge amount of money that they wanted us to pay when we could not afford this, but now we have it for free. So sometimes there's only one way in the forest, but you can find this way if you look and if you dig and if you search and if you ask and if you talk.
I mean, just think of it statistically, you know, if you don't play Lotto at all, you will never win. But if you play Lotto a lot, there's probably a higher amount of chances that you will win simply because you expose yourself to it. Same as in business. So if you expose yourself to people, to potential clients or customers, mentors, investors, whatever, someone will listen to you and someone will find it interesting and someone will help you and someone will invest. And that way is the only way to grow and to move forward.
This is the entrepreneur. Go, Joe.
So to interrupt, but I had a question for you as well, and maybe the rest of the on the call as well. How would you go about like finding the sweet spot between like on the one hand asking for like go high, shoot for the moon, but on the other hand keeping it reasonable enough for them as well and for yourself, that you feel like logical, like of course I need to ask this for my skill set and for where this startup thingy is going and whatever right now. So how does anyone have like tips on like how to navigate that simply?
There's a lot of questions in there. You need to balance it. You need to use your brain, right? Now, you need to push. That you've got to have a big vision, okay? You got to have a big vision. But if we take a look at what investors are trying to look at and what people want to get on board with you, they want to be with a team that understands their product, understands the market. They can work together. They can be coachable. They can be movable. They're also grounded in reality, right? Just because I say that I need $15 million, okay, great. I like your passion, but what's your plan for it, right? Now, some companies, some startups are like, hey, actually, right now, we don't need cash. We don't need cash right now because what they're saying is that, hey, our two founders right now are comfortable. And mind you, by the way, you're never asking for investment and sit there and say that this is for salary. Just so that's said, please.
I just wanted to say that.
Don't ever say I need money to pay my salary in my startup and that's why I'm asking for cash, okay? You will instantly be thrown in a box of bullshit, okay? You are asking for money to help you grow, right? If you say, hey, we're actually okay right now. Our goal right now is to prove, to validate, to talk to a whole bunch of customers over the next 4 weeks. This is what we're going to do. This is our hypothesis, et cetera, et cetera. We don't need cash right now. That's a very powerful statement because you're getting people's attention as to what you're doing, but you're saying we're smart. We don't need cash. We can do this without cash right now, right? So you have to balance this a little bit, right? I agree. Throwing out a huge number, this one is like, I like throwing out a huge number, but then giving people sort of a reality check in terms of what would you use a certain chunk of that for right now? And is that important? Do I believe, do I trust that this is the smartest thing to do with your cash? Or do I actually, I think that's me, investor, right? I'm like, okay, cool. That's reasonable. I think that's an okay amount of money, but I think you should put it somewhere else. If I think that you're a team that would listen to that coaching, then I would go and talk to you, right? So you got to balance these a little bit. There's no right answer here. Be honest, think big, be honest, ground yourself in reality, but a little bit of crazy too.
But Sean, it also depends on the business idea itself, because I think, you know, it's a big difference if you want to be like a local food startup selling some portions of your amazing food to some local companies, or if you want to go into, I don't know, millions and billions of productions and, you know, reach global stuff. So this is like, you need to, it's about scaling. For example, I started with coaching, and my idea was to coach people, etc. And we changed the business model and to open it up more and to make it more digital and scalable. So we went away from this coaching in person because it requires a lot of logistics, you know, and real world startups are always less interesting than digital startups for investors, because you can scale much more, because you just run an application on a server and you just put clients on it. So there you have a higher scalability, which also gives you the possibility, let's say, the credibility to ask for more money, simply because you're much more able to scale rather than having like selling something offline. Because this offline business is, I mean, there are good ideas. I'm not telling you not to do it, but it's probably not as scalable as something which is digital. So it's also in the nature of business.
Okay. Yeah. So for my case, so,
There's
sorry,
one more.
to give an
There's one.
example.
Go ahead, Joe, and then we'll hear from Marcel. Go, Joe.
Okay, sorry. So for example, my thing, I feel quite flexible about it. I love coaching people on their self-development. So for example, sleep, like how much sleep do you get? I know two super cool ways to like kind of like nail it down. So one super cheap way is to just give yourself literally 8 to 9 hours of sleep opportunity, and you can literally like write down or see on your watch like when you got to sleep. That's like no money. But on the other hand, what is more like easier and more accessible is, for example, to get like the Aurora sleeping ring. And if I could provide that, then they don't even need to look at the watch that sleep will be recorded for them. So you get like a little bit more data, a little bit more hard grounded. But on the other hand, it would take an investment of me like to get a couple of those rings, or like get like a biometric weight or whatever, which is like all of a sudden more more investment money that needs to be put in. Whereas on the other hand, I could find ways to get like a similar effect with almost no tools than pen and paper.
Okay, if I'm gonna answer that with some questions. If I was
Okay.
question, I'd be like, okay, one, why are you doing what you're doing? What are you interested in making people do? Right? Are you more inspired by taking a coaching route, or do you want to do a product? Right? Do customers even want to wear a ring? Would be something that I would want to have proven, right? I want you to talk to a whole bunch of people, even think that that is. And if they did wear a ring, would they wear this ring? Have they used other rings, right? So there's a matter of like business side and what makes sense, but then there's also like, what is it that you want to do, right? I mean, take for example, I mean, if you were really, I mean, you want to help people, let's take the assumption that you want to help people and that sleep is one of these things that you could do. I mean, I know coaches like me who hop on a call with a person for 15 minutes a week because they just want to talk about some of the little things that they're doing and bang, 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 bang. And, you know, hey, did you get some sleep? Right? They might want, I know another coach, she literally does only 15-minute sessions. And she spends 4 hours every single morning doing 15 minutes, 15 minutes, 15 minutes, just to remind people about sleeping. How you doing today? Let's do a power pose. Let's do a quick breathing technique, right? So it's sort of like, what do you want to do? There's no right answer. If you want to go ring, there's a certain route that you need to go down to validate that idea. If you want to go coaching, there's a certain route that you want to go validate that idea, right?
Yeah, because I did some paid coaching, which was really cool. I love talking to people and see like where they're up and how to like implement ideas that are practical, simple, but also backed up by science and psychology. So it's basically also for me like I love to customize the things that I want to reach in how they work best and really listen to that. Yeah.
Yeah, you see, so right there, my suggestion off the bat would be like, go coach as many people as you can.
Okay. Sure.
Find out as much stuff about human beings as you can, and find out what kind of stuff you like helping them out with, what kind of stuff you really don't like helping them out with. You know, be curious. Now you're sort of in my realm, right? Like treat yourself like a startup, you know, treat you are the startup, right? So, okay, go get coaching, go see how much you can get paid, go see what's for free, go see what you like, what you don't like doing, you know? In there might be some magic where you have an idea like, oh, wow, maybe I could make a product that does this.
And, you know,
Okay,
also,
yeah.
what's really interesting is when you think about, like, everybody of us has an idea or, you know, something which he's striving for. But in the end of the day, customers are paying for business value. So this is like a red line which is in my head, whatever I start touching. So what value does it bring me if I pay this amount of money? You can go as simple as a cup of coffee, you know. Everybody has a cup. But if you provide a cup with two buttons, like a warm button and a cold button, then you have a business value which people might pay for simply because you have a USP. And always think of that one, because in the end, it's people pay for business value because something is faster, cheaper, smaller, bigger, whatever it is. But the business value is something you always have to put in front of on the table when you're asking for money.
Yeah. Value.
Thank you. That's also helpful for that comment.
I just want to add one point, because you said, Jared, that you said that like getting like people who support you, and what is their value. And so I think there's like shoot for the moon. How do you handle this? How that you don't go like too crazy with your idea. But the point is that so many people around, like in my network, for example, or also my family or my brother or my parents, they're sometimes doubting me. They say like, no, you can't do this because this is too big. Or they say like, oh no, there's so many like challenges, that like not problems. They don't say challenges, they say problems. You need to go to this way, and you need to go to this bureaucracy and stuff like this. So the point is, you know, you need people who support you with your idea. You see, you are a startup and you can do everything. You can study in Oxford, you can study in Harvard, you can study in Germany, wherever you like to study. If you truly believe in that point, and if you go down on your desk, and if you do your work, and if you make a plan, and if you organize your ideas and your structures, you can reach it. And the point is, try to find people who who are pull factors for you, like people who are in the same level of you, like friends of the same level, like 2 or 3 years older maybe, or maybe 10 years older, but in the same level, who are going to empower you because they're role models in the sense. I have friends who go to Harvard, and they show me that there's a way to go to Harvard for me as well, because they're friends. They sat in the same room with me a couple of weeks ago. So they're like similar on this level. So why should I not be able to go the same way? Yeah, or Sean Paul, yeah, you did amazing studies in America. So we're sitting in the same call now. So maybe if Sean gives us his time, so we may be on the same level with Sean in this sense. So the point is, find people who empower you, and don't be around with people who always think, oh no, you can't do this, oh no, you can't do this. And if you need these sort of validation to go back on the ground, then just talk to your parents, maybe, and mostly the parents are the persons who are taking care about you the most. And they will say, no, don't do so much, you should rest a little bit. And they will level you again on the like average level, not because they're not wanting to empower you, but because they're like always, oh no, come on, rest a little bit. This is basically the way how I find the level sometimes to rest, but then I go out with my friends, and then they empower myself.
There's a really nice book on this.
Good reminder.
It's called Lean Customer Development. This book helped us actually to really ask the right questions, because asking the right questions is even more worth than asking any question. Because I'm gonna post the title of the book. It's really worth reading, and it even contains at the end like a small framework how to develop good questions and to get the feedback not you want but you need to succeed in your idea, which is really helpful.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Marcel, wow, thanks for that, Waleed. Marcel, what you just said there, I think is so key. There's something to be said. I don't know, what is it they say? You're the product of the 10 or 15 people you spend the most time with, right? Who you spend time with is a choice. And if you can make a conscious choice to surround yourself with some people that challenge you, yeah, that are in different areas, or areas that you may be interested in, right? This is why mentorship and advisors and things like this can start to become very interesting for people, because you just push the boundary on trying to increase your width, right? Surround yourself with these people that keep you up, okay? What I liked, and Marcel, I've actually, and it's funny, my dad, I don't know if my dad's listening right now, but it's really interesting what you said there. And it's taken me a long time to actually come around to understanding that my parents, especially my mom, will be the one who tries to remind me, hey, take it easy, calm down, take it easy, don't go so fast. And there have been, for a long time, it's only probably up until recently that I've actually understood what you just said. It's not that they don't want you to be successful. It's not that they don't want to try to support you or push. It's just that they understand that they need to ground you and chill you out. I've received it as, oh, they're not supporting me. Why aren't you supporting me? You should support me, right? And I've gone through this little process. So I think it's so key what you said there. And I understand that now with my parents. It's not supporting. It's just that they're parents and they're there to ground and they're there to bring me down, not down, but sort of back into a little bit of reality, to take care of myself. And I now appreciate that. And I don't take that as a negative. It's the crew of negative people that are sitting here and questioning you all the time. Those are the ones that I would highly recommend you just remove from your space.
But you can also use them because you can tell them about your plans. And this makes you gives you a very positive feeling of pressure. So if I tell my friends, they're always adopting me. And when I told them we were going to fly stationaries and donations to Beirut, they said, oh, you won't do this. There's Hezbollah and all these difficulties. And I proved, well, there's Hezbollah, but we made it as well. We made it. So the point is, if you talk to these doctors, they will always come and say, oh, I told you it doesn't work. So you see, I told you, you're stupid. I told you already, you shouldn't do this. But if you tell them, I will prove them wrong. And this is a very good feeling. And I remember the day when I met this friend and he told me, oh, wow, may I join your project? Sounds very nice. And I said, you were the first doubter on me, but thank you for adopting me because this empowered myself to prove it. You're wrong. And this is a good feeling. And now you give me a beer for free. And he gave me the beer for free, which was worth. No? So cool. You can use these people, but you're right with the parents. Normally they are only taking care about you to ground you and also to, because sometimes they don't understand your story. My parents don't understand what I'm doing because they're living in a different world. So I need to explain them 3 times, 4 times the same thing. And then they understand, oh, wow, it's about internet. So tell me how I use my computer. So,
Yeah, but I can definitely underline that. I mean, we've been, it's now quite a journey. Like if I remember myself when I started with Sean, back when I started pitching my idea and where I am now, if I would have listened to all those naysayers around me, I wouldn't have moved even 2 steps in front of me. So you have to be persistent. You have to wake up in the morning. You have to sweat. You have to do it. I know it takes a lot of efforts. There's a really nice picture, the daily life of an entrepreneur. There's 7 days in a row. And then the first day it says fuck, the second day fuck, the third day fuck. And then at the end of the day, like Thursday, there's 1 year. And this year keeps people going actually, and not the 5 or 6 times fuck, because you are looking for this sweet spot. And the more you go in there, the more you will find and understand what you have to do and the way you feel also, because, when you start to understand how your mindset is changing, it's going to be quite a crazy journey. And I've been through a lot of stress and through a lot of, and my daughter came and all these things. So don't judge yourself too early, because there's way more power in you than you actually believe. I like to quote Sean, actually. He always says this boom, and this boom actually is what really sparked the fire in me actually on the startup weekends.
Oh man, it's yeah, I've seen Waleed go make some huge strides by just pushing, believing in himself, trusting, being willing to fail, getting up in front of some people and doing a presentation. I didn't have to push too hard, but go do it. What do I talk about? Talk about your story. What story? And then it's only a few whys, and then there it is, right? So really important to kind of ground yourself down in that why that I keep talking about. But yeah, you got to hustle. You got to run around. I mean, it's like you bought into that when you were saying you want to try to be an entrepreneur and you want to try to build up something. It comes with the territory. Yeah, it's also when you were saying fuck, and then that reminded me of golf actually. You're like swing shit, so swing completely missed the ball, and then like boom, you hit one ball, and you're like yes, it's like you've hit your golf for the day is done because I nailed one. you know? You know,
That's why positivity is really, really important. Like staying positive all the time, because there will be a lot of negative times, but you have to train your mind to actually stay positive, because positivity, you know, literally or physically even changes your brain once you start realizing that what you can do when you stay positive and when you believe in it, because then it just works.
And and I also like to just to add on to that a little bit, Walid. You know, there, yes, positivity, yes, changes your mind, gets you going. Now, there is a caveat or a little bit of a dark side that you can kind of fall into if you always think that you always need to be happy, you always need to be positive, because if we're always positive, we're always doing this, we're not honoring our negativity. We're not honoring when we're not feeling well. We're not honoring our body when. So a little bit of a balance there. But you can have call it a positive mindset to the fact that you're not feeling well right now, and that's okay, right? And I think a lot of us are not okay with not being okay. We need to be okay with not being okay. You can have a positive outside, you can have a good mindset, you can say, hey, this is all going to work out. You know, things are not always going to go your way, right? Yeah, Marcel, go. Rock.
Well, I do have a metaphor for this. Like I call this surfing. So if you go surfing, you enjoy surfing at all, even if the wave is crashing and you're falling in the water and you're way below the surface, and you come up and then you have to swim out to the wave again, which is like hasty sometimes, but it is a part of surfing. And if you enjoy surfing, like your life in general, then you also like being crushed by the wave. Yeah. And then you know that you will continue and the next wave is coming soon.
Very good analogy. I like that. Exactly.
Especially when you start seeing a shark and being relaxed, then you're a pro.
Yeah. Like, cool, dude, no problem.
Even a shark is not dangerous. If you stay calm in your crown and you punch him in the snout, the shark will disappear.
There you
go. You need to handle these sharks, and there are sharks out there a lot. And these are the people who, like, you're against you. You sometimes your enemies, like different concepts who want to beat you. And stay calm and believe in your power and your force. And yeah, there's always a way to fight them.
No, cool. I like Savina, you just said, yeah, building or rebuilding our mindset is key. And I think the rebuilding there is key. And I think rebuilding all the time. We're always trying to learn and figure out mindset and trying to find this kind of, call it a sweet spot where we can operate when the waves crash and we don't get totally thrown off of our base. Yeah. Yeah.
And positivity is infectious. So yeah.
It's I think it takes a lot less energy to be positive about things. Negativity burns you up. Cool. I really enjoyed this session. How long did we just say that? It's been another hour. Yeah. Okay. I actually have something I need to do. Did you want to have a quick say hi, Abdul? You said you wanted to do that. You have time to do that in like 20 minutes?
Yeah, sure.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Find me, connect with me. I think Marcel, what was that? Startup weekend? Which was Zurich? Geneva?
Yeah, almost a year ago.
Yeah,
Zurich, yeah.
In Zurich, yeah, exactly. Cool. The same one with Walid?
I don't remember Walid's.
I think
I don't.
Our was November 2019.
Same, I was there as well.
Okay, there you go.
Which startup? Where did you do?
I remember that. So, like, I think it was travel guide, something with traveling. It was not my idea. But...
Interesting. Are you the Lebanese guy?
Sorry?
Are you the Lebanese guy?
The Lebanese guy? No.
Okay.
I'm just flying 8 deliveries, but nothing more. Like, it's just because Lebanon had these kind of.
Sorry?
You're the Lebanese guy.
Yeah, but I heard that on Startup Weekend there is a Lebanese guy, and I haven't met any one of them. That's why I was curious.
No, we're just helping Lebanon in this very like
really appreciate it. Thank
deep
you.
crisis.
Yes.
Well, I accepted. We are connected on LinkedIn, so I found you.
Cool. Hey, I know I said this yesterday. I'm just going to put him back into the thing. Jeroen Colin, he wrote a really good, there's a guy on LinkedIn. He's a professor of entrepreneurship at Delft University. He's written his last post is a really interesting post on his way of trying to get away from lean startup, especially at an early stage, and he kind of forms a process of trying to ideation, which I think is really cool. It might get into kind of like where to point and how to frame yourself when you actually don't know where you're trying to go, which is a pretty interesting topic. You all are awesome. Thank you for joining.
May I ask one question? I really enjoyed it in the startup weekend that you ask all people to come out in front of the the building, and you told them, ask your questions. What are your problems right now? So ask people. So I have a little problem that I want to introduce. Maybe one of you guys knows someone who can help me. I need to get in contact with the head of Asian, the Greece airline Asian. There's a Stallions member. These airline are Egan. Like, I don't know how I can type it down for you guys, because this is the airline. We are like to build an airlift to Greece, because there's a huge problem with the refugees in Greece, this, and they are lacking basically facilities of they need clauses. And what we have ready is we have more than 700 Euro pallets of donations ready in Germany, in Frankfurt, and in Berlin. But we have difficulties to ship them to Greece because it's becoming super expensive. And currently we pay for a truck around 3,000 euros for one truck, which can carry 35 pallets. So what we want to do is we want to use airlines that are already flying to Greece or from Greece to Germany, and use their capacities that are not used yet, because currently only a handful of people are booking flights to Greece. So maybe we can use the area, the storage in the airplane, to fill it with our donations. So if you can set me in contact somehow with the head of Asian or with the head of Corendon airline, that would be very nice. Like all airlines that fly to Greece, or Transavia or Air France or Swiss, these airlines are flying to Greece. That would be very helpful.
Swiss Air, I could definitely get you connected to.
I actually know an investor relation lady at Egan Airlines. Maybe that helps. Let's see.
I'm third degree connection to the CEO, CIO at the airlines, but I can't get an intro because I'm not second degree.
Yeah, that's same with me. Not.
Swiss Air. Do you know Dominic in?
Yes.
Have you spoken to Dominic?
No, but I have to. That's good.
Dominic, man, he worked inside the internal everything at Swiss Airlines for like 12 years or 9 years or something.
Are you connected to Nicola? Just a second, Nicolas Bührer? Nicolas Bührer?
No.
Connect with him. He knows everybody. Seriously, I mean, this guy is a contact machine. Connect with him. Ask him the story. Maybe he knows a CEO who was golfing with this guy. Because the world is small.
Can you type the name for me?
Yes, yes. Sure. I will just.
Awesome.
I'll actually yes. Here.
So these are the airlines that are flying currently to Greece. They're the big airlines. So if you from Europe, so if you know one of these companies.
This is always that fun thing, like, who do I know?
Or also very powerful would be a contact to government. For example, like we're in contact with the German government, who's responsible to bring the refugees from Greece to Germany because they're chartering airplanes. So on the flight from Greece, they're full of refugees, but on the flight back to Greece, they're empty. And these empty flights we would love to use for donations. So I know for sure that like the Austrian government, they're doing the same, but I don't know people in the Austrian government. So if you know someone in the Austrian government, or if you know that in your country, in Norway, for example, or wherever you guys sit, that they are flying refugees from Greece to your country, maybe this could be also a channel to get a contact with the person who organized the charter flights, and then to use these empty flights in order to fly other nations.
All right, I'm gonna have to look at a few different things here, but we're on LinkedIn, aren't we? But Dominic is going to be able to get you someone, I guarantee you. Just tell him he spoke to me. And Waleed, actually, Waleed, you know Dominic. You know Dominic anyway, don't you? Yeah.
Did you contact maybe the officer, the airlines directly in terms of the logistics?
Yeah, I contacted them, but there's like, this is like a very bureaucracy and it's difficult. Like Lufthansa, for example, gave us an offer, but like it's way too expensive.
Okay.
We're currently cooperating with.
I have a suggestion. So I got Norwegian Airlines attention 3 or 4 years ago because I really wanted them as a sponsor for an accelerator. Okay. And I wanted them to sponsor an air hackathon where literally we get a Norwegian airline, we fly from New York to Dubai or something, 12 hours and this and that, blah, blah. It didn't go through. But what we did do is we created a one-pager, a very, very simple, easily branded one-pager with the Norwegian Airlines logo, said air hackathon, this, bang, let's chat. Just something to get attention. So if you created a nice, simple one-pager of what you need, and then just plow that shit out to every single CEO, CIO, all of the airlines, because we sent it to Bjørn Kjos, who's the CEO of Norwegian Airlines, found his email, whatever, somewhere, LinkedIn, you can always find this stuff somehow, or find the email address of somebody else who works at the airline and figure out what their, do they do first dot last name, or do they do the 3 initials? You can use these little tactics to find the email address. And Bjørn didn't respond to us, but we did get feedback from the head of marketing at Norwegian Airlines. So try doing that. That would be the little growth hack, hustle way. Simple one-pager, email it out to everybody. Somebody will get a response.
Are you still in this project for the hackathon?
No, but I would love to do it.
Okay, so let me know if you want to do this, because we are flying currently with Sund Air. Let me type this down for you guys. It's a very small airline. They have 7 airplanes, but it is big enough to do something like this. And I'm super close with the CEO. So he's flying currently out of the nations to Lebanon, and he's super open for these sort of ideas.
Well, I've got a huge, let's talk. Let's bounce that around.
Check this out, Sund Air.
Idea inside my head that has to do with airports, airplanes, terminals, all sorts of stuff. Because entrepreneurs can fly, you don't need visas and shit. You don't have to leave the airport. So you can actually do some very interesting acceleration across the planet with planes. It's not the most sustainable thing in the world, but it is an interesting idea. All right. I really got to go. You all are awesome. Marcel, I'll write you a note now. Let's connect. Let's have a chat next week or something on that. Yeah? Okay, cool.
Marcel, if you need contacts in Lebanon, I'm very well connected there.
He's got the wasta.
I think we should definitely talk Walid, because the most important people in our person in our team is also Walid. He's like the brand manager of Sund Air, and he's making all the stuff on the ground with the packages. So I guess we should talk to each other.
I have actually my brother down there. He lives in Beirut, and he knows.
So maybe we can.
So
if you want to send donations, for example, to Lebanon, you can use our channel. We are opening the channel for other NGOs. So if you have stationaries, or if you have packages, we can fly them for you to Lebanon. It doesn't cost you anything.
Amazing. Let's chat. Because I have a lot of ideas for you.
Yes. Let's do this.
Cool.
Bye, guys.
Cool. Awesome. Rock your day. See you, Selvina. Abdul, Dad is somewhere gone. Mermaid, Marcel, Walid, rock on.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.